Today is June 22nd, 2021, 9 a.m. Welcome to the council meeting of the City of Palm Coast. I'm calling this meeting to order. Please join me in a Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Before I proceed to roll call, can everybody hear me? Good. Virginia, please roll call.
Mayor Branquinho.
Here.
Councilmember Barbosa.
Here.
Councilmember Danko.
Here.
Councilmember Clufus.
Present.
Mayor, all members are present.
Good. Item D, public participation. I would like to remind everybody present, due to the fact that we no longer use the phone lines, that you got 3 minutes to speak up front. If you have items not on the agenda, let me be clear about it. If you speak up front, you will not have the chance to speak on the final comments. I see that our political candidates over here for the job. I would like to remind those running for mayor or any other candidates, please do not use this podium, okay, to campaign. Please do not. Will not only be a violation of our rules and regulations, but would be tasteless. That podium should be strictly for questions, answers, concerns, and anything else. But please, and I think it's a good taste not to use it for campaigning. With that, I'm opening item D, public participation.
Good morning, Robert
Mr.
McDonald,
before we give the 3 minutes, I would like staff to please pay attention to the questions and the names of the persons, because if I cannot answer the questions, I'll revert to staff to properly inform the people. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. McDonald. I'm sorry.
Okay, Robert McDonald, Palm Coast. I've been coming to this building for 6 years since the building was built, and this was never an issue until I recently became handicapped, and I have to use a walker. I would like the city to please explain to me why this building is not handicapped accessible. We don't have the buttons on the outside of the door to enter the building on either side, either this building or the other building. The bathrooms are not handicapped accessible. There's got to be an explanation as to why. And I did ask somebody a couple of weeks ago why this building was not handicapped, and he said, well, we have lightweight doors. Okay, but if you're in a wheelchair, or you're an amputee, or you have some condition where you can't use your arms for anything, how would you possibly get into this building unless somebody was kind enough to open the door for you? And the second issue is, I had raised a question a couple of weeks ago about when we were getting metal detectors into this part of the building, since we've had issues in this part of the building recently. And I was told by, at that time, City Manager Mr. Morton, that they were coming. Well, we have some kind of a device out now in the hallway, but that's all fine and good. I got here at about 8:45. There was nobody outside checking. I walked into this room, and it was probably 3/4 of the people that are in this room were already in this room. So therefore, those people were probably not checked. I know I, for a fact, was not checked. So what is the purpose of having that and having security here in this building if they're not out there as soon as that door opens up? As soon as that front door opens up, they should have somebody out there checking, because all it's going to take is that quick, and now we have an issue. So I would like some answers to my questions today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Samantha Mendez. I live at 7 Central Place, and I was here a few weeks ago to speak with all of you about our concerns about the safety of all the residents that walk, bike, jog, or run along Cimarron Drive. Thank you for allowing me to speak again regarding this issue, because it's something that means a lot to me. to be able to walk or ride my bike with my young children along Cimarron Drive safely in order to cross over to the sidewalks on Palm Harbor is a definite concern of mine, along with many others. My children and I had to cross Cimarron Drive each morning and afternoon for the last 5 years to get to our bus stop. Our bus driver this year was even able to see the increased dangers on Cimarron Drive, and she went to her supervisor at the transportation department with her concerns and was able to get our bus stop changed to the corner of our street so that we would not be risking our lives from all the careless drivers out there that wouldn't stop and let us cross. That's pretty crazy to me that someone that doesn't even live in the neighborhood was able to see the issues with Cimarron Drive. More changes need to happen in order to save lives. In the last few weeks, I've seen more of a police presence in our neighborhoods, and I've been told that the city is moving forward with plans to do something about Cimarron Drive, and I'm here to say thank you to each and every one of you that has voted to move forward with these plans. And thank you for listening to us and knowing that our concerns are real and valid, and thank you for helping us to protect our families while we're trying to enjoy the outdoors.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez. Next speaker. Please state your name to the record.
Hi, I'm Pete Minervini. I live off Cochise Court, and I ride my bike on Cimarron every single day. I rode this morning already. Yesterday I was riding, and there was a mother on a three-wheel bicycle with two children on three-wheel bicycles that have some kind of disability. And there were two trucks coming, and it was just a recipe for disaster. I didn't have my phone to take a picture. I would have taken a picture to show you. But this is an occurrence that happens every day, that I ride my bike every single day. I can show you on my phone, my road trips, every single day I'm on that road. We started a petition. We have over 100 names so far in phase 1 of that petition of people who live on Cimarron who are not against having sidewalks put in. And if it costs too much to put sidewalks, we need a place to move over to. When I ride my bike, I'm riding with traffic every day. There's people walking their dogs and walking. They walk against traffic. So they're always coming at me. When I'm driving down the road on my bike and there's cars coming behind me and another car the other way, we have nowhere to go. So if there's tar between driveways, because you don't want to rip up people's driveways, and I understand, if I had a nice cobblestone driveway, I wouldn't want it torn up to make a sidewalk. Maybe tar on the side of the road between the driveways, so someone has a place to move off onto instead of the grass. Some of these places with the asphalt meeting the grass have like 4 inches. If I ride my bike over there, I'm going to fall. People are going to trip and fall to try to move out of the way. So that's an option too, widening the road between the driveways. Probably a lot less expensive to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minervini. Next speaker. State your name to the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Carrie Purdy. I am the head swimming coach at Matanzas High School, as well as our age group team in the area that's ran through the school district, and we have approximately 100 kids on the team. I'm just here to talk about the need, again, and that this should be a priority for our community to start moving forward, not 10 years from now, about creating a community center for the community. It is not the school districts to have this community center and only engage at the Belle Terre Swim Racket Pool. Okay, the pool there should be focused on K through 12 kids that are in our community for that position. It is a job of the community as a city to provide the needs and the wants of the community. We do not have a full general community center for kids and for our seniors, although that people can come and supervise, much like a Y, but a Y is not going to come into there. They're failing right now. We have 2 pools right now that are old. They're both failing, but they're full. Okay, we need to create a place for all community members to go there, gym, whatever. I know one gentleman's talking about skateboarding, a full-fledged community center. And it needs to be a priority to put in, not just about swimming for an aquatic complex that will make money if it's ran properly, for all opportunities, swim lessons, lifeguarding, scuba, and I know that the FCO also uses that for training. It's not deep enough. These facilities are run down. There's not enough space to shower, and to have just a space for people to go, opportunities for this community. We are not making this a priority, and I know that this tennis center has been, and I'm sure that some people very much love tennis and the pickleball, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be a part of it, but to spend that much money on that is a little bit overboard when those monies should be put more as a community whole that will benefit all ages of the community, not just the section or a percentage of it. This community center should be an enveloped community center that will benefit everyone. And we do not have it. We are behind and we are struggling for Palm Coast in this aspect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Purdy. Next speaker. Please state your name to the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Jill Reynolds, and I am the president of the Democratic Women's Club, and I'm here to discuss a proposal to commemorate Shirley Chisholm here in Palm Coast. Who was the first person to walk on the moon? Who was our first U.S. president? Every American knows these famous firsts. But ask, who was the first African-American woman to be elected to Congress? Or who was the first woman and the first African-American to seek the nomination for president of the United States from a major political party? The answer to both of these questions is Shirley Chisholm. Although she stated she did not want to be remembered for those firsts, in her own words, "When I die, I want to be remembered as a woman who lived in the 20th century and who dared to be a catalyst for change." In 1991, Shirley Chisholm chose to retire to Palm Coast and resided in Flagler County until her death in 2005. She was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously in 2015. That same year, the Palm Coast City Council designated November 30th, her birthday, as Shirley Chisholm Day, recognizing her dynamic list of firsts and her focus on equal rights, education, and the family. The Democratic Women's Club of Flagler County would like to sponsor a more permanent commemoration of the late Shirley Chisholm's contribution to our nation's history right here in Palm Coast. We want to keep her memory alive so the change she courageously brought will continue to inspire all those young and old who believe in equality and freedom as essential to our participatory democracy. Because Shirley Chisholm was a trailblazer in life, we would like to honor her legacy in the form of a plaque at the start of one of our many beautiful trails, to be unveiled on November 30th, 2021. We have the support of the American Association of University Women, the African American Cultural Society, the NAACP and SURGE, and interest from others. In less than a week, we have gathered 420 signatures of support from our petition, and according to a local news article, we have the support of one county commissioner so far. I am grateful for your consideration, and I hope that you'll view this as we do, a nonpartisan community project that highlights the deep well of diversity that our great city has and could put a well-deserved national spotlight on our town as a place known not only for its natural beauty, but a place of historical significance in the state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Mike Cocciola here in Palm Coast.
Good morning, sir.
I'm here to urge you to think twice about approving the resolution for the letter of support for the 0.5% or half-cent sales tax to be enacted by the Flagler County Commission. The Flagler County Commission spends money and spends our money in ways that are not exactly wise. We know this. We know they buy buildings at a high price and they sell low. They're evidently not real estate agents. But anyway, that half-cent sales tax, first, it's burdensome to people on fixed incomes. It is really burdensome to people on fixed incomes. If you are elderly and you cannot leave to go shopping at Daytona or St. Augustine or someplace else, you can avoid it. But if you are elderly and you are stationary, you cannot. So it is discriminatory toward not only people with fixed income, but certainly discriminatory toward the elderly. To give the Flagler County Commission more opportunities to spend tax dollars is not a wise thing to do, since they have proven They cannot be responsible, and they're not responsible already with the tax dollars we already give them. They use law enforcement, yes, it says, I guess, public safety. And that's like waving an American flag, sure, you know. Everybody supports the American flag and everybody supports public safety. Well, we are already safe, and I don't know how much more the commission needs to make us more safe, build bigger buildings perhaps. Surely they can find, I'm talking about the commission, they can find something to cut out of their budget so as to avoid burdening us, the citizens of Flagler County and of Palm Coast, particularly those of us on fixed incomes, from more taxes. Thank you.
Mr. Cochiolo, don't go nowhere. Reason why I'm saying this is because you were not supposed to speak about any items in the agenda, and that's an agenda item. So therefore, when it comes time to speak about that, I will not allow you to speak again regarding that matter.
That's good.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Othelia Minervini. I live on Cochise Court, and I first like to thank you all for choosing to serve our community. I'm just thankful that you are continuing to consider sidewalks on Cimarron, as it is a safety issue for our community. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sanji Jackson. I live at 53 Slow Drift Turn, and I'm here concerning the closing of Slow Way. I am dead against that road being closed. It has been used for numerous things. Yes, there is heavy traffic sometimes when there's an accident on US 1. That's the only way some people can get home. And now they want to close it because of what? I need to know why. Give me some facts showing that there's a problem with that road not being closed. So this is why I'm asking, please give us some direction telling us why you want to close this road, because one or two people don't agree with people coming through the neighborhood. You pass through other neighborhoods all the time for some reason or another. There's an accident, so you have to do a detour. So you have to go through a neighborhood, and it's not hurting anyone. I live right there. My grandchildren play in that road all the time. There has never been an accident there. I'm always out there with them, making sure that, they get out of the road when traffic comes through, because traffic does come through. So that's the reason why I'm here this morning. Please tell us why you're closing Slow Way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Next speaker, please. Hearing none, let's move on. Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize.
Alan Lowe, Palm Coast. First, I'd like to say, Mayor Branchino, it's nice that you're back safely.
Thank you, sir.
I hope you
Thank
had
you.
a good
Appreciate
trip.
it.
Also, I live off Cimarron as well. What they're saying is 100% accurate, and I support something being done on Cimarron. And I support Mike Cochiola and what he just said, even though it's a non-agenda item. I mean, it is an agenda item. But I'm also curious. I heard that former city manager Matt Morton received $47,000 in back vacation pay or sick pay or something like that. And it might legally be due him. But in the corporate world, if you quit, you're done. I don't understand why we have a contract with people where we're paying $47,000 to a person who worked here for less than 2 years and quit. He might be due it because of his contract, but I think we need to look seriously at future contracts with people and have some kinds of clause for, if they quit. If you quit and walk away from the job, you've quit and walked away from the job. This is wasteful on the taxpayers' money. There are people in Palm Coast that don't make $47,000 a year, and I think this is a little ridiculous. So I'd like to have that looked at in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Next speaker.
Michael Arnold, Palm Coast. I sent every one of you city council members an email from a FOIA item that I received. And it regards Bill Reichman, advising Matt Morton to violate whistleblower. I haven't received any responses. I have every intention I'm really considering actually filing the formal agreements with the Florida State Bar against Bill Reichman.
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
I am actually considering filing a formal grievance with the Florida State Bar against Bill Reichman. He told Matt Morton to file something with my employer as a private citizen, therefore violating the whistleblower laws. And I like the little faces, of course, that Bill Reichman is giving me right now. Unfortunately, I
Sir,
do have
speak
it.
to me.
I am speaking to you. And unfortunately, that could have a problem with me in the future. So you have a lawyer, a city lawyer, acting in such capacity, violating whistleblower. I think he should be removed effective immediately, and that's what I'm asking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name's Deborah Frame, 1 Shirley Place, and this is regarding slow way, slow drift. Thank you very much for coming out and hearing us last night. I do appreciate that. It would appear that the majority of the city does not concern themselves with this area that vastly. So I'd like to just ask the simple question. How much money has been spent already with upgrades and repairs to this tiny section of road? And then you're gonna close it to make it, the money that was spent was to improve the swell. First, the road where the two streets meet, it was underwater for years when it would rain. And, you know, I mean, it would be deep where you would have to go through. So that was improved. Then you came back through and put an actual culvert in so that it was even better to drive through. And then you came and replaced the asphalt. So there's been all kinds of funds already spent there, and now you're gonna close it so that those improvements aren't actually being used. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm at the address where we're gonna have to drive 6 miles to get our mail if you close it. And there's numerous people who were at the meeting last night who it's gonna change their yearly funds to have to go around by like $700. I mean, it's just, it seems frivolous to spend more money on this tiny section that there are no even actual addresses on this little piece of roadway. So, thank you for hearing me.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Brian Budka. Quoting traffic engineer Mike Grunwald's presentation to the City Council, it is an odd thing to ask to close a road because we spent a lot of money building these roads. The city saw value in building this road and spent money to maintain it, as you've just heard. Now the city wants to spend money to destroy this asset. The question is, what justifies the closure of the slow way? The answer is, nobody has identified a reason that has any data to back it up. Councilman Clufus noticed that the issue was evolving. The issue is evolving because the city has failed to do the appropriate preparatory work in identifying and documenting a problem before bringing an ordinance to the vote. At the first reading, or the first of the second readings, over a dozen residents asked, why weren't we contacted? What data do we have to justify the closure? Why weren't alternative solutions such as traffic calming, improved signage, or improved lighting or curbing considered? In all of their presentations to the City Council, the Traffic Department has not identified a problem, nor presented data to justify the closing. In addition, despite direction from the mayor, none of the resident proposed options have ever been considered. Much of what the Traffic Department has presented lacks data to back it up. For instance, on June 8th, a photo of tire tracks next to the stop sign on Show Way was once again presented as evidence of drivers speeding through the neighborhood. I witnessed a slow-moving Waste Pro trash truck make the ruts in this picture as it turned. I have pictures of similar ruts at stop signs throughout the Slowway, or the S section. This morning, the stop sign at Slowway is down. There are no tire tracks despite all of the mud, and I have photos of the base of the sign that shows that the sign was flexed in multiple directions to break the base. The sign is not laying in the direction that it was broken in. A vehicle could not inflict this damage. This was done by a vandal. Is the level of traffic on Slowway a safety issue outside of Palm Coast norms? The only data presented to the council is traffic engineers Mike Grunwald's observation that the traffic in the neighborhood is no big deal. There are real negatives to closing Slow Way. Since 2010, there have not been any injury accidents on County Road 325, while there have been over 10 accidents with fatalities on Route 1 and Seminole Woods Boulevard. Besides reducing resident safety by having to drive these roads, driving the additional miles will cost households hundreds of dollars each year, every year in the future, and additional gas and maintenance expenses. The proposed gate plan includes a pedestrian hazard next to the pedestrian entrance and will force pedestrians to walk not on sidewalks, but through a muddy swale to cross through the gate. We are proposing to creating a pedestrian hazard for no benefit. It is an odd thing for a city to want to close a road. It's even odder to do it against the wishes of the residents. It's even more odd to do it when there's no data to justify the closure, and when the closure has been shown that it puts residents at risk, it's no longer extremely odd. It's unconscionable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Morning. Please state your name and speak to the mic, please.
My name is Teresa Budka. I'm here against...
Well, can you repeat the name, please?
Teresa Budka. I'm here against Slowway closing. When my family was looking to purchase a home in Palm Coast, several factors affected the home that we chose. We did not consider houses that bordered major roads like Seminole Woods Boulevard because of the traffic noise. We picked our house in a neighborhood because Slowway provided easy access to Old Dixie Highway. We narrowed our search to two similar houses. The house on Slow Drift Turn's backyard was on the dirt road. We decided that that wouldn't work for us because of the dirt coming in. We knew that. We picked the yard that had backed up to the conservation area. We found the potential noise and dust from the dirt road a negative. A neighborhood resident has presented to the city council that they moved to Palm Coast for peace and quiet. And they spend many hours either outdoors or their doors open. Giving their desires, did this resident purchase one of the houses that was on a dead-end street where they could have had their peace and quiet? No. The resident chose a house not only that backs up to the dirt road, but is one of the rare houses in the area. It is surrounded by streets on three sides. Caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware. All these conditions exist when the resident purchased the house. Now, with buyer's remorse, the resident wants the city to fix the poor choice of location by closing Slowway. The city council is considering this option against overwhelming opposition from neighborhood and data showing that closing Slowway will impose costs on all the residents and reduce resident safety. Last night, a group of at least 30 residents met with Councilman Barbosa at Slowway in the rain. There were 3 residents in favor of closing Slowway. What was most striking about the meeting was that most was missing from the long, Most striking about the meeting was that what was missing from the hour-long meeting. There were no large trucks, no commercial vehicles, and no aggressive high-speed drivers. There was no discussion or observation of any reason to justify Slowway being closed. What was present was a neighborhood strongly opposed to the closure. Residents noted that they have family on both sides of Slowway. They have been using this road since before Palm Coast. There is no data showing the closing of Slowway that will benefit any resident other than the resident living adjacent to Slowway. The city council must represent all of the residents of the city and vote no on the closure of Slowway. Mr. Barbosa, thank you very much for showing up last night. I can't understand why our councilman cannot respond to emails or show up. Thank you. And I'd like an answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please. Hearing none, I'll bring this back to this. Let me start by the last few people that spoke about Slowway. It's no secret. Personally, I'm against closing it. And I already said why. Last week, over the Zoom, I heard clearly that there were some signs that they were going to work in one side, but they weren't going to work on the other side. Well, that does not really happen. The little study I did was basically There's over 20% of people that will go through a red light, believe it or not. If they have to, they will go through it. But there's only 2.1% of people that will go in a do not enter sign. So if a do not enter sign will help, will stop the problem, you're talking about 97% of chances of people not going through a stop sign, through a do not enter sign. So I think we have the problem 97.9 solved by putting those signs there. Keep everybody happy. 97.9% of the problem solved, which I think is pretty good. As to kids playing on slow way, I was there a few times. I didn't see any kids playing in a slow way. But I'll be darned if I let my kid play in a slow way with no houses in each one of the sides. As to having to drive 6 miles to get your mail, I'm sorry, and I hope they don't close it. I hope they don't vote to close it, because I don't think you should drive 6 miles to go get your mail when I go 20 feet and get my own. Coming to Cimarron Drive, we have a problem there. I think we have a problem there. I'm no traffic engineer, but there are situations that we could help, and I'm pretty sure that the city, we're doing something about it. I want the people of Cimarron Drive that you have not been forgotten. Okay, and I spoke in the past with our interim city manager, and she kind of told me what was going on. And you all know, because you spoke to her and you've been speaking with the previous city manager. So you were not forgotten. We're working on this. And once again, regarding that 0.5% taxes, once again, Mike Cacciola, we'll be talking about it a little later, so I will not answer you personally. Joanne from the DNC, would you please be so kind and approach me at the end? I would like to meet with you and the city manager to discuss what's the possibilities of doing anything, and then bring it to the council so we could look into that as a whole. But I would like to first know what the intentions are and what's behind this. So once we have that, we could bring it to the council and discuss it properly, maybe in a workshop, and then if need be, bring it to a council meeting. As to Ms. Purdy, I believe, regarding the swimming team and make it a priority, maybe a community center. You heard that the city manager, Denise Biven, so please, if you could actually, once again, meet with this lady and see what the concerns are, and maybe once again, we could bring it to this body here and discuss it the proper way. Now, Mr. McDonald's kept you for the end. Are you still here? Yeah. Good. Let me be honest with you. I thought this building was ADA compliant. And if we're not, shame on us. Shame on us if we're not ADA compliant, because if we're not, we should do something about it ASAP, yesterday. As to the metal detector, the first one, Mr. McDonald, was not a metal detector. This one it is. This one is a metal detector. And if you were unfortunate enough to go by without anybody seeing you, it's because you came in a little too early, or maybe I cannot justify why wasn't someone there. When I came in, and I think I came in before you, someone was there. There's a reason why we need the metal detector. Since maybe last November, we started getting a few people here that, to be honest with you, they have all the rights to be here, but they have to respect this. And you have to hear some of the comments that these people that created that problem are out there saying. One of them is even referring to me as B, Queenie. I don't know if he's talking about my sexual orientation, which I don't think so, but if that's what it is, I would remind him that he's the one wearing the earring, not me. So I hope that's clear with him, because we got friends here that could tell him that, just because he's not here today. With that said, regarding Mr. Ratchman, as far as I'm concerned, for now, you're going nowhere. And would you like, do you have any comments on Mr. Arnold's comments, or?
Only to respond that, like any other advice that I attempt to give to my clients for this city or any other client, I do my best to make sure they're consistent with federal and Florida law. I do not have the benefit of the documentation that he references, but of course, any communications I would have made to the former city manager, I would have done to make sure that it was consistent with Florida and federal law.
Thank you, Mr. Reisman. Okay, moving to item E, minutes. I'm looking for a motion to approve this.
I will move to approve the minutes for the June 1st, June 8th meetings.
Second it.
Okay, second, do I have a vote? All those in favor say?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody against it? 4-0, isn't it, Mr.? Okay. Item F, proclamation and presentations. Who's got the mosquito control? Councilman Barbosa, please read the proclamation regarding the Mosquito Control Awareness Week. But I think they're probably better. Would you please be so kind and approach the podium? Both of you could come. We have room.
Mosquito-borne diseases, including malaria, yellow fever, West Nile virus, and Zika virus, have been sources of human and animal suffering and death in the United States and worldwide. And mosquitoes diminish our enjoyment of outdoors, hinder the work environment, and reduce property values. And mosquito-borne diseases kill up to 1 million people every year. And the East Flagler Mosquito Control District mission is to promote and develop effective, environmentally sound control of diseases transmitting mosquitoes with surveillance, source reduction, and control of biting mosquitoes. And alongside our vast Flagler Mosquito Control District, our State of Florida Association creates public interest, awareness, and support to control of mosquitoes by educating communities on 3 Ds of mosquitoes: protection and prevention. And the 3 Ds encourage people to drain sources of outdoor standing water that can breed mosquito eggs, to dress appropriately by wearing light-colored long-sleeve tops and pants, and to defend themselves by wearing repellent that has been registered by the Environmental Protection Agency. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the Palm Coast Mayor and City Council recognizes June 20 through 26 as National Mosquito Control Awareness Week in Palm Coast, and urge residents to spread the word about fighting the bite instead of spreading mosquito-borne diseases in our community. Adopted this 22nd day of June 2021 by Eddie Bronquino, Acting Mayor, and Virginia City Clerk Virginia Smith. I also understand that you guys have a Citizens Academy where people could go and learn. And development? Are you going to get it done? Okay. Yeah. So that's something good for people to, in the future, to look at. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to, excuse me for turning my back on you. I just want to thank the City Council for doing this, because one of the best ways that we can control mosquitoes is through education. It doesn't damage the environment, it doesn't cost very much, but it lets people be the masters of their own destiny, to make sure that they aren't contributing to the mosquito problem, because mosquitoes really are the deadliest animal in the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the work. Yes. And if anything that the city could do, if it's legal and ethical, please don't hesitate. We're here for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll be talking to you.
F3, a proclamation regarding patriotic Palm Coast Weeks. Would you be so kind, sir? Sure. And due to the fact there's nobody there, if you want to read it from your seat. Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize. I'm going to be doing a lot of apologizing, I guess.
There are days like that.
You didn't bring me a flag?
Nikki, I am so sorry.
You have so many already.
I do. All right, whereas the American Flag Project is a Florida nonprofit organization based in Palm Coast, and whereas the goal of the American Flag Project is to do its small part to inspire pride in our country, the United States of America, by providing U.S. flags to residents and businesses, and whereas patriotism isn't just a flag, but a good start, with the 13 stripes of the flags representing the 13 colonies that revolted against tyranny and won, and the 50 white stars representing the 50 unique states that make up the United States of America. And whereas the American Flag Project is on a mission to make its hometown of Palm Coast the most patriotic city in America through a display of U.S. flags at houses and businesses across the city on the 4th of July and beyond. Whereas to achieve this goal between Flag Day and July 4th, 2021, the American Flag Project is distributing free, made in the USA flags, and that's a big deal, made in the USA. We don't need any China flags, right? At some 20 locations around Palm Coast, and encourages every resident and business to display the flags today and every day. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, that the period from June 14th to July 4th, 2021, be officially designated as Patriotic Palm Coast Weeks in the City of Palm Coast, and encourage residents and businesses to show their patriotism and fly their flags. Signed this day, 22nd of June, 2021, by our Mayor. This is for you, Nikki. Thank you very much. Please feel free to.
Well, since we're celebrating July 4th on July 3rd, and no celebrations are happening on the 4th, I hope everybody shows up at Freedom Fest, brings their flag, that stick flag, and comes in at 3:30 at the podium, or the stage, I think it's called. At 3:30, from 3:30 to 4 o'clock, we will be doing a flag waving. I'm hoping we'll have over 1,000 people this year, and that way I can advertise and brag about us all over the country.
Nikki, don't go nowhere, please. Nikki.
What?
As a term of endearment, I'm calling you Nikki. You are nice. You are kind. You are a superb lady. Nobody better than you to adopt that cause, which is the American flag. Thank you very much, and for that, I applaud. Item F4. Oh, yes, presentation of Flagler County Social Services.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us. My name is Janet Nichols. I work for Flagler County Department of Social Services, and I'm joined by our Director of Health and Human Services, Joyce Bishop. So thank you. Under the umbrella of the Department of Social Services, we have Human Services, which I would like to talk to you about this morning, Senior Services, we have the SHIP program, our Adult Daycare Center, we also have the Veterans Service Center. But what I'd like to talk to you about today, of course, is the Division of Human Services. As you can see, we're located on 1000 Belterre Boulevard in Palm Coast. We're at a different campus with the Adult Daycare Center than our government services, which is in the GSB. Our hours of operation are 8 to 5, and if anyone would like to call and make an appointment or have any issues or any challenges about social services, they can certainly call me, Janet Nichols, Program Manager. They can call Stephanie Morris, our Administrative Assistant. Her phone number is on the first page. And when I think of our Division of Human Services, I think of 5 kind of distinct primary functions. We play the role of education in the county as far as social services and resources are concerned. We play the role of creating referrals, making referrals to folks who call us and are in need. And not just our constituents, but also partner agencies within the county, not-for-profits, churches, that kind of thing. We also help other agencies with a variety of grants that I'm going to go into a little bit later. We do outreach, and we help with services in general. Some of the services that we provide in human services, we do emergency assistance. That's probably one of the most popular, and we help with mortgages, rent, and utilities. And Palm Coast, the city of Palm Coast, has been kind enough for the past several years to generously provide $10,000, at least $10,000 a year, so that we can help our residents who might be having problem paying their water bill. So thank you. Our eligibility criteria just very basically provides 2 assists throughout a person's fiscal year. And the reason I say that is because if the person came in October, they can have another assist through September. So primarily we do 2 assists. We also have a wonderful program that I'm very proud of, and that program is our Indigent Healthcare Program. We partner with the health department, the hospitals, we partner with the free clinic, Flagler Cares. And what we do is we coordinate dental and medical. And I think sometimes that's something that a lot of folks are not aware that we do. I guess the residents that come to us that we're able to help and assist are folks that are uninsured. They're qualified as far as low income. And I think I put something in your folder to see what the various levels of income are. We complement or enhance other primary care that's in the community. We also have like a medical loan program where we provide wheelchairs, walkers, and that kind of thing. We coordinate non-routine medical treatment. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we will get discharge summaries from hospitals, we will get referrals from the free clinic, and to help somebody have a surgery or have them go to a specialist or have them have maybe expensive lab work done. We also do emergency dental, and I think that's something, again, that a lot of citizens aren't aware that we do. We will pay to have teeth x-rayed, we will pull a tooth, and we will also fill in order to save a tooth, if that's the best thing that's going to serve the patient. We do prescription assistance. We work with a lot of agencies like SMA where we can get folks their mental health meds at $7, and then we pay $7 a script as well. And then we also do medical supplies and labs. In 2019-2020 fiscal year, we were able to interview 786 households. Out of those households, 771 were provided services. We were able to provide medical and dental. Now, I want to say that out of the 786 households that were actually interviewed, this does not include a lot of the telephone calls that we receive. And some of the phone calls that we received, I guess this past year due to the pandemic, has been they've lost their job and they're uninsured. And sure, we can help them. What we've been encouraging folks to do is talk to a navigator, because with the American Rescue Act, the Affordable Health Care Plan has become, very easy to get. And just one case in point, if we have someone that has received just one unemployment check since January, whether they're working or not, or still collecting unemployment, they can sign up for the Affordable Health Care Act and pay 0 premium. So, you know, while we do open cases and try to help people with medical, our goal or our aim is to help them become independent. And certainly their own health care plan is actually going to meet their needs much better than we can. We do a great job, I think, bridging the gap and, you know, being an interim program. We helped with 771 actual services when it came to medical and dental. And we also have a HICRA program, which is a state mandate, and we processed 130 applications. We also help with indigent cremation. If someone comes and says, you know, gee whiz, a family member has passed away, or we get telephone calls from a funeral home or the police department and they say, you know, we have someone who it would appear has no next of kin, they're unclaimed, they passed away here in Flagler County, then we can certainly look at possibly paying for that cremation. We do mortgage, rent, and utility assistance, and last year we did 363 households. And I want to say that one of the things I'm very proud about is during COVID-19, Human Services has continued to serve our citizens in any way we possibly could. During that time, yes, our doors were locked, but that didn't stop us from coming outside and meeting people on the bench, exchanging paperwork, trying to do a face-to-face interview, because sometimes the people that we serve are in crisis and they kind of need that opportunity to be able to ask questions as we try to answer them. We accepted applications and we sent them through email, telephone, mail, whatever worked best for our constituents. Our doors are now open. And then what happens is, after someone is given an application, they're assigned a case manager who contacts the citizen, reviews the application, as well as any follow-up documents that are needed. Some of the documents that we require, obviously, are driver's license, Social Security, household income. We look at the entire household income, and then, of course, bank statements. We want to make sure that the person has been judicious with their income. In 2019-20, the households that were served, we have it broken down into zip codes. And, you know, you can see 32164 was 49% of where a lot of our services went, followed by 32137 zip code, and so on. On the next page, we have the amounts that we actually paid for services rendered. And for indigent health care and for HICRA, you can see that the amount paid compared to the amount that we were billed is pretty significant. And the reason for that is with HICRA, we pay at the Medicaid rate. A lot of our indigent health care, we pay at a discounted rate, so that the amount that we were charged, let's just say for indigent health care, the value of it, the amount that we were billed, was about $270,000. Well, we paid less than $100,000, so.
That's an incredible statistic. That's an incredible statistic. You were able to, 270,000 worth of services, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, well, I'll talk about HICRA in a minute. Brian's story. This was a gentleman that came into our office in April. He wanted help with assistance with dental issues. He is a lifetime resident here in Flagler County. He's currently homeless, and he was staying with friends and family whenever he could. He had been working in an actual landscaping business and was doing pretty well until his dental issues became so severe. His mouth was so infected, it was just unbelievable. He was determined eligible for Flagler County assistance through our Flagler Indigent Healthcare Program. We have several dentists who have agreed to work with us at a discounted rate. We sent him for an oral exam and x-rays. He was given a round of antibiotics, and then his dental work began. Some of the necessary work that he needed was, besides the round of oral antibiotics, was 5 extractions, and they were all in the front, a root canal and 1 filling. The bill came to over $3,000. Now, with Flagler County Human Services, we're limited to about $1,000. So what we did was we were able to contact a church and another not-for-profit agency, and they agreed to come together and pay the remaining $2,000 so that he could have all of that necessary work done. Because the crown and the root canal are a little bit beyond the scope of what we can do in terms of, financially, and it's just, something that we don't do. So that was a really great experience, not just for him, but for us. And he said, when he was looking back over pictures of himself, he said, I never smiled. I really looked rather sad. So he said, one of the things I'm really looking forward to is future pictures of myself being able to smile. So, yeah, it's medical that we do, but it's also helping to give people hope and confidence. And also he was able to return to work. Michelle's story. Michelle moved to Florida with her family 3 years ago. She found a job but did not have health insurance through her job. Last spring, while walking out of a gym with her girlfriend, she literally fell. In her words, it just began to fall apart from there. Unemployed and borrowing money to pay for medical care, she turned to Asa Health for health care. CAT scans were ordered along with prescriptions. Her health began to decline, and she suffered multiple seizures and 2 strokes along with heart problems. Asa Health, which we also work with, suggested she call Deanna O'Flaherty with Flagler Cares for assistance to apply for Social Security disability. Deanna referred Michelle to Flagler County Human Services in September of 2020. She met with Brooklyn Riley, one of our case managers, who began coordinating medical tests, labs, specialists, and medication. When asked about her journey, she shared, "Never once did I feel discriminated against for being uninsured." And from speaking with our administrative assistant, she said, which was the first voice that she heard when she called Human Services all the way through the crisis to Azalea, Deanna, and Brooklyn, she said, lots of people have jobs, but you guys all went above and beyond. And I think in the county that's what we're known for, going above and beyond. And it is our joy to be able to do that. When I had alluded earlier to referrals, I think in each of your folders you're going to find a Flagler County Resource Directory. And that is a directory that has come from 2 pages many, many years ago up to, I think it's like 15 pages now. And what we tried to do was incorporate, in the beginning it was for residents, so that they can look in the directory when they were in crisis or help somebody else with services here. Because we all know that when you're in crisis, it's not the best time to try to track down the services that you need. So what we also found out, what we discovered over time, was that it wasn't just the constituents or residents that use that directory, but it was also other agencies, and it became a valuable tool. We do update it every single month because services change within the county, and we try to be relevant, provide relevant information. Also, we found that our partners have really found it to be a very useful tool as well. The education piece that, one of the education pieces that we do is we host the Flagler County Resource Council. And this council has been going on for many, many years. The council is a collaborative effort by various government agencies, faith-based and not-for-profit agencies. We come together the first Tuesday of every month, September through June, and what we do is we have 2 presenters. And those 2 presenters from other social service agencies kind of explain to us their services, any grants that they have, so that we can become ambassadors, go out and be better give better information to the people that we serve. And like I said, it's held the first Tuesday of September through June via Zoom due to COVID, but we recently returned and had our first meeting at our library again, so. And then, of course, we do outreach. Flagler County, in conjunction with local municipalities, is partnering with our Flagler Family Assistance Center's Sheltering Tree program. Funding is being provided to offset the cost of sheltering our citizens who are either without heat when temperatures dip below 40, or folks who are maybe homeless at the time. Free transportation to the shelter is available to anyone in Flagler County at a variety of bus stops throughout the county. And then, of course, we have grant applications, allocations. What we do is we provide funds to Children's Home Society of Florida, Family Life Center, SMA, Grace Community Food Pantry, also the Open Door Program, Early Learning Coalition, the Boys and Girls Club, the Free Clinic, just to name a few, Sally's Safe Haven. I mentioned earlier that we have some state mandated unfunded programs, and one of which is the HICRA program. And Florida mandates that we have that, and then we have to provide the funding for it. And what does that mean? That means if we have someone who is uninsured and they happen to end up in the ER in a county outside of Flagler, like Halifax Hospital, for example, or Flagler Hospital in St. Augustine, and I get that application, I contact the person and see if there's any way in which we can help defray the cost of that hospital bill for them at the Medicaid rate. And that's very valuable because our hope is not only to have that hospital bill paid, which helps the hospital, but also helps the patient. We get the discharge summary papers, and then our hope is, for whatever reason that person ended up in the ER, this is a great opportunity to either sign them up for our indigent healthcare program, get them to see doctors, labs, whatever they do, so that they don't have a return to the hospital. And each county's financial obligation for this fund is set by the state at $4 per capita. We also have Medicaid reimbursement, which we have to provide to hospitals and nursing homes. And of course, one of the mandates is that we have services for indigent cremation and burial, which I talked about a little bit earlier. Any questions?
I would just like to say thank you, and I think it's incredibly important that during people's time of need, especially with oral health care issues, it is debilitating to the max. So these stories of recovery and assistance that you're offering, I just wanted to say thank you, because dental issues can ruin someone's life.
Absolutely, it's an organ, just like any other organ, right? And I think sometimes we forget that. And I also say, if you ever have anyone who has a challenge, an issue, whatever, I invite you to have them call me. We are problem solvers, we really are, and we know a lot. Sometimes people say, well, gee whiz, Ms. Nichols, there's not a lot of resources in Flagler County. I beg to differ. What happens is you have to know what other resources to connect. Because like that gentleman with the dental, we couldn't have helped him to reach his health goal had we not been able to partner with other agencies. So, thank you.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you, that's a lot of good information in here. I'm gonna take a look at it. That shelter, where's it located?
The actual shelter itself is at Church on the Rock.
Okay.
And in the directory, I think it's in the directory, we had a flyer that we're posting everywhere, because transportation to the shelter is a new thing for us. And so we're trying to teach folks that this is where you can go if you don't have any heat, or if you're homeless.
How would they get a hold of the transportation? They just call, or?
No, actually, they just show up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Is there not a flyer in the back?
Oh, there probably is.
Sorry.
I
thought there was one. No, but I can send you one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Nichols?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your presentation on the overview of the Division of Human Services. Like Councilman Nichols said, you're doing a very good job, especially in medical and on a dental emergency. please keep up the good attitude of the hospitality that you have regarding, and which you're pretty good at. I'm pretty sure that you do the type of screening, making sure that the people that goes to you are those that really need it. You do that, I guarantee you. And there are plenty of Brian and Michelle's stories out there.
Yes, sir.
I don't think somebody goes there just to get a cosmetic.
No, no, sir.
They go there because they need it. And
Yes.
I could relate to that. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. And if there's anything that the city could do, if it's legal and ethical, we would have absolute no problem. And I'm pretty sure that my colleagues will agree with that.
And let me just remind you too, that we do mortgage assistance, which is rare. So, you know, we don't want to forget about our folks that, you know, are homeowners.
Thank you.
We do 100% of that if they qualify.
Let's
Thank
not
you.
forget that those that really, and I put the word
Yes.
really, need it. Please, let's not
Absolutely.
forget them. Thank you.
Thank you.
G5 is the next item
Joyce was,
on the resolutions.
Mayor.
What is it? I'm sorry.
Joyce.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Apologize, didn't see you. I just looked the other way.
Okay. Joyce Bishop, Health and Human Services Director, and I'm going to present on the senior services program that we have at Social Services.
Once again, I apologize.
That's
I
no
just-
problem. So, I'm going to discuss the senior services programs and the adult daycare. Yes, I was just looking for it on the screen. The program, actually, the senior services program started in 1974 as the Council on Aging, and in 2004, the county took over the program due to financial problems with the Council on the Aging, and is still going strong. No, it's human services, senior services. It should have been right after right after human services. There we are. Okay, so age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. Thanks to Mark Twain. Our primary services that most people know about are the nutrition services. We have a congregate meal site, and we do Meals on Wheels, which a lot of people know about Meals on Wheels. The congregate dining site was previously at the Wickline Center in Flagler Beach, and just recently relocated to the Church on the Rock. It is open 5 days a week from 9:30 to 1:30. Some seniors are bused in, and some people drive in. We started with a very slow opening since COVID. We just started the first week of June, and we're hoping to start building that up a little bit more. There are some people that are still a little hesitant to come in for congregate things. We are doing socially distancing as well. For the Meals on Wheels program, there is a home assessment required for this. So one of our case managers would go into the home and be sure that the person is eligible to be at home. If they're not eligible to have their meals delivered at home, we will encourage them to come into the site for socialization. We do socialization every day in that twice a week we do bingo, which is a big thing. And we have speakers, and we do Tai Chi, and we do all sorts of things. I believe that there's a calendar in your packet to explain what some of those things are. The Meals on Wheels program is primarily served by volunteers. We were very fortunate during COVID that all of our volunteers remained giving meals out to our seniors. We lost maybe one or two that were afraid to go out, but and our staff always fills in whenever there's a problem. But if anybody would like to volunteer for Meals on Wheels, please feel free to call our offices. We're always looking for volunteers, even if it's just a sub. And you can use volunteers for a whole lot of other things with our program. The meals are frozen meals. They're nutritious. They are, the menus are overseen by a registered dietitian, and they meet diabetic diet standards. They're a little bland sometimes, But we do have condiments for people to spice them up a little bit for themselves. We did want to mention that during the pandemic, prior to the pandemic, we had served 35,912 meals. There was much funding coming down to us for the Meals on Wheels program, and one of the things during the pandemic is they asked us to do a restaurant meal thing, and it was to help the local economy, to help the local restaurants, and I will say many of our local restaurants did step right up and jumped right in, and we were real happy to help them with a little bit of money to take care of that, and we increased our meals by about $20,000. The objective of that whole plan was to encourage the seniors to stay at home and to keep them fed and to support the local residents, and we checked all the boxes on that. That was, I think, off the top of my head, $89,000 we were given for that portion. The subsidized services that we offer, in-home services, we do nutrition ed. There are 6 federal grants and 4 state grants. The federal grants, there are no specific fees. Clients are given the opportunity to donate towards the services. And the state grants, there is a sliding scale fee, and which is co-pays. We do not set the waiting list for these programs. There's a statewide waiting list. So the process for a senior to get services through these grants, through the county, is to call in. They can either call us and we will give them an overall idea of what's going to happen, or they can call directly to Elder Source, which is the Aging and Disability Resource Center that's located up in Jacksonville. They have to have a phone screening before anything. They get put on the list, and then as we have openings in the grant programs, we call and we say, send us 5 more people, and then we do an in-home assessment, and it goes from there. But the waiting list is definitely not set by the county. It is set by the statewide waiting list. Our in-home services are non-medical. We do no medical. We do homemaking, personal care, caregiver respite, mental health counseling, home improvement. We're not building new homes, but we will, for those that are eligible, and as funding exists, sometimes we get some additional funds. We can help with putting grab bars in, or a ramp, or things such as that. We do coordinate with the public transportation system. We do case management. We do recreation and health support at our senior centers, nutrition education. We do information and referral. And that's our congregate and home delivered meals. The adult daycare, which also just recently reopened, and we're just starting with small numbers, and we'll add on in as we can. It is state licensed, and we do have a registered nurse on site. She is the program manager. Functionally impaired, 18 years and over. It is a home-like atmosphere. We have recliners, we have TVs, we have bingo, we have all sorts of games, and it's to keep seniors moving. To keep them moving, they do little exercises and all sorts of things. It is primarily to maintain quality of life and to avoid being put in an institution. We do our best. All of our programs are to try to avoid seniors going into facilities. We do the best we can to try and avoid that. We also have we call it EHEAP. It's the Emergency Home Assistance Program for the Elderly, and seniors must be 60 years or older, or a 60-year or older residing in the household, and it's dependent on crisis. They have to have a pending shut-off notice or be delinquent on their bill, and there is much paperwork. It is a federal program. The contract that we get for the EHE program is usually anywhere between 74 and 84 pages, and we usually get about $10,000. So lots of paperwork when you're dealing with the federal government. And we do coordinate with a lot of other agencies. We are Church on the Rock, our Meals on Wheels people I can't say enough about. SHINE, which is serving health insurance needs of elders. That is assistance for elders picking out their Medicare plan, helping them when they're having issues with their Medicare plan. The Flagler Beach Women's Club supports us, the Halifaxes out of Halifax Plantation during holidays, Thanksgiving. They give us gift bags to bring out to our seniors. Home Instead, Home Care, Walgreens, and they do Be a Santa for a Senior. And last year we, staff and volunteers, rode around in Christmas costumes, as we had Santa and the elves, sang Christmas carols as they delivered bags to the homebound. And especially during COVID, they were very appreciative of that. And it was a 12-hour job. They started at like 8 in the morning and didn't get done till 8 at night. And actually, the staff had a blast. I can't wait to do it again next year. And SPIN is the Senior Providers Information Network, also helps us out. I don't think I need to read this if people just want to read that for themselves. And then, yes, in our minds, we think that we're a little younger than we are. And does anybody have any questions?
I don't necessarily have a question, but I wanted to applaud your efforts for being local and buying local and taking the state dollars that come down to us and those additional 20,000 meals that you helped locally source. You're helping us help ourselves in a way. And I'm thankful to the local restaurateurs who were able to facilitate these meals. And I just wanted to thank you for your diligence for reaching out with them and working with them. That's huge, especially during a pandemic.
That was very interesting because, you know, restaurants are used to giving big portions, and they were only allowed to give like 3 ounces of meat to be with. We still had to stay within all the dietary guidelines, and it was eye-opening for them as well as us. And yeah, it was great to see the camaraderie that went on, and many of the seniors have now shared their favorite restaurants with others, so that others are now going to the other restaurants. So.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, again, thank you for feeding so many people. That was tremendous. Thank you for your services.
Thank you.
Once again, I just want to thank you for your giving us a presentation of your overview on senior citizen services. A couple of things jump right at most of us who are blind sometimes to certain things. The adult daycare. Basically, you helping here the most vulnerable.
Yes.
They are people that really can't defend themselves anymore. So that's a cause right there. You do it all over the county.
Yeah.
And you do it through volunteers.
Yeah.
And you almost doubled the amount of people during the pandemic, almost doubled it. I'm pretty sure you have phone numbers that people could call.
Yes.
And I don't know, Ms. Bevan, I think that we, probably should put this phone numbers in our city website. I think that, I don't think it would hurt if people comes to us and the numbers are there. They'll know where to help, because sometimes people are embarrassed, afraid of asking for help. Let's make it easy on them to ask for help if they really need it. And I insist on the word really needed. Thank you, ma'am. I do appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Overview. Anybody else has any other questions regarding this? No? Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on to resolution. G5, resolution approving the letter of support for Flagler County Public Safety half-cent sales taxes. Chief Forte, I believe you and Carl have a presentation.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Today we have Carl Cody with us, who's going to present the first part of the presentation. Also in the audience are representatives from the Sheriff's Office and Flagler County who will chime in towards the end if they have any questions that they need to answer. We'll be able to answer them for you.
Okay, I'm going to kick it off by just going over some of the history of what the small county surtax is, some of the history of it being in place and what it's been used for before we get into the new proposed item that's before you today. So the small county surtax, it's a tax that was looked at across the state and assessed back in 1992 based on population, which allowed a discretionary half-cent or 1 cent sales tax to be implemented. This can be implemented either by extraordinary vote of the county governing authority, or it can be put on referendum, and if it is on a referendum, then it can be bonded. In the past, there was a half-cent sales tax that was in place for a 10-year period, and it was to construct, renovate, and improve needed infrastructure of the street systems and facilities throughout the county. The city used those funds specifically for supplementing our resurfacing program, where we targeted resurfacing 50 miles of roads per year. So that was from roughly 2003 to 2012 time frame. There's a current half-cent sales tax that's in place. This was voted in by the county commission back in 2012. It's a 20-year tax, and you can see some of the numbers in here. It is distributed based on a state formula, based on the entities that are in the county. Palm Coast does receive the largest share of that. You can see the current half-cent sales tax will bring over about $3.25 million to the city. And one item of note on this screen is to identify that the visitors to Flagler County are paying 28% of that sales tax. So that's non-residents that spend dollars locally that are adding revenue for us to utilize in the city. In that half-cent sales tax, its current purpose is it's pledged for local infrastructure and other public needs. And some of the items of note that we have allocated in the past or have programmed upcoming are the public works facility, park renovation, rehab, and renewal projects to offset the recreation impact fee, because the impact fees do not pay the full cost of those new capacity improvements. There's a fair share analysis that's done where on the recreation side of things, existing citizens are required to pay almost 31% of that cost. So this sales tax covers this existing citizens' share of new capacity improvements. Same with fire. Fire is much less, it's just over 9%, but that's where those dollars come from that cover the existing citizens' share of new capacity. We also cover IT capital projects that either serve the public or are city-wide elements. And we also address facility renovation, rehab, and renewal projects of our existing facilities throughout the city.
So today we're going to talk about what we are proposing for the second half of the half-cent sales tax. It'll be specifically utilized for public safety to include fire service and emergency services. I have to tell you. Click on. So the next several slides, we're going to talk about what we do and how we track what we do. It helps us in making decisions on using resources and predicting the outcomes for fire department future needs. In 2002, Palm Coast City Council established performance goals for the emergency response to go to calls in 5 minutes or less with a 2-minute turnaround time. We use these response times as the main reason to track everything that we do, and they are set by City Council so that we have a strive to reach these attainable goals. We started at 5 minutes and 2-minute turnout time. In 2010, we changed it from the 5 minutes, 2 minutes to a 7-minute total, and we reduced our turnout time from 2 minutes down to 45 seconds so we can get a true depiction of exactly how long it takes for us to get to a call, which is about 6 minutes and 15 seconds away from the fire station. 2010, the Palm Coast Fire Department was able to reach the City Council goals. But today we are averaging between 73 and 76% of the time, 7 minutes or less. So why the number 7? It has everything to do with response time, and response time leads to the delivery of service. You'll see in this fire propagation curve that anything over 12 minutes, you lose 50% of the structure that's involved with fire. Our goal is to get it to 7 minutes or less, and if we can get there in 7 minutes, we basically leave it to about 20% of the house that's involved with fire. And at that point, it's a smaller room and contents fire, and the person is able to collect their belongings and move to another location while renovations are done to a house. Correspondingly, the rate of survival after a cardiac arrest, after 7 minutes, you're basically, if you don't have hands-on, you're going to lose a patient. Our goal is 7 minutes or less, which is better than the national standard. And if we can get there, the survival rates go up steadily from the 30% that you see in the charts. So we know why we want to get there. That's important. Let me explain about where it is important that we get to. We have predictors. We know when they're going to happen. We have the ability to trend them out, and they're historic. We know our response times are going up our responses are going up dramatically, and our predictor of 11,000 calls in 2020 was just shortfall of 12,000 calls. We predicted that 5 years ago, so we know the calls are coming. What we also know is the population growth is coming as well. Like call volume, we can trend this out, and we knew 5 years ago that we'd have about 90,000 people in the community. With that information, we were able to come up with what our call utilization is. And if we can go back just a moment, Carl. If you take the call volume divided by population, you come up with a utilization number. That is a percentile, 11.7%. That number comes in a very important manner when Mr. Tyner or Mr. Papa come up and explain that they're going to put a subdivision in. And that subdivision is going to have about 300 homes. And if you calculate there's 2.7 people per home that will be built in that capacity, and you multiply that times the percentile, I can tell you we'll have 94 calls in that subdivision alone. We call that capacity. So we know what the capacity is if there's a new development coming in, and we get to plan that out accordingly and look at what the stations are able to provide today. So for example, Station 23 has an apartment complex going in, and they're going to have 300 homes. There's roughly about 1,200 calls a year that go on at Station 23. We have plenty of capacity at Station 23 zone to keep the people in place, and we don't have to make adjustments to response times. At Fire Station 22, we look at that capacity. It's at a constant 2,500 calls a year or less. It has reached its capacity. There's not a lot more people that can move to the Station 22 zone, which covers from Grand Haven to I-95 up to Fleetwood, over to Palm Harbor and the bridge. It's a landlocked area, so we know it has reached its capacity. So by looking at the data, and we realize what the needs of Station 22 are, we have to look at the staffing levels that are in it. The future needs of the organization is immediate Station 22, and I'll get to that in a moment, Station 26, and the mini station on Whiteview Parkway. Through our study that we did last year, we identified that Whiteview Parkway and Seminole Woods are going to be the most needed areas, which would be part of the Fire Impact Fee Report. These areas are in need of improvement. The response times are long, and we've identified those, and this is part of what identifying some of the gaps are in your services that you can start working on. Seminole Woods has response times in excess of 12 to 14 minutes. Whiteview Parkway has some areas of Red Mill that have response times that are over 8 and 10 minutes. We've recognized this, and through the Fire Impact Fee, we were able to build fire stations in the next 3 to 4 years through the impact fee study, and those costs will not be in ad valorem. Station 22, however, does not come into that. Operating costs for associating the support of this will have to come from the city itself, and any balance of capital costs that exceed the fire impact fee will have to come from ad valorem. So why do we have to address Station 22? It was built in 1997 by IT&T. It was a volunteer fire station. It was built to house 10 to 15 volunteers at an on-call basis. So if the bell goes off, the firefighters respond, they go to the station, It was built for 15 people for a very short period of time, and it was not intended for overnight utilization. It did not address modern cancer initiatives that we've adopted today, and similar to the Flagler County Fire Stations 51, 62, and 71, these buildings were limited in size. They had a certain amount of scope that was attached to it, and they were not for long-term duration. Station 22 was also used as a sheriff's substation that allowed 2 to 3 deputies that were working Zone 2 at the time to come in and do paperwork, and it was a separate access from the main part of the building. Changes to Station 22 occurred over the years. In the 1990s, Flagler County EMS was an ambulance department. They were housed at Station 2 East, which is now Station 22, while Station 21, which was called Station 2 West, was housed by firefighters in 1988. To this day, Flagler County is still housed in the same station that they have been occupying since the 90s. In the 2000s, we have identified roof damage, plumbing problems where the plumbing would actually empty out onto the grass, and structural beam rots. These things were cause for concern because the upper part of the structure was weakening, and it had cause for displacement of the employees while they were repairing it. In 2010, the roof was replaced. We upgraded the bathrooms for ADA compliance, and the expectations back then was that building was only going to be serviceable for about 5 or 6 years. It was never supposed to be here in this condition to this day. The living quarters for Station 22, they house 5 people a day or 15 people in a rotation. The image on your left is where 16 firefighters, men and women, share a common bunk room that's 12 by 20. 12 by 20 is about the width of the podium. These firefighters, although 12 of them are career firefighters, are also housing our intern firefighters that come and ride along. Some of them ride 12 hours and some of them ride 24. The image on the right is the lieutenant's bunk room. This is shared by all 3 lieutenants on a shift rotation. And as you can see, there is a bed in the bunk room where they have to conduct business. The building is small. If an employee needs to be coached or counseled, it has to be done in the lieutenant's office because of the occupancy of the rest of the building. It is somewhat inconvenient when you're having 1 chair, 1 officer, and a bed in sharing in a common office space. And again, not intended from its original scope. 15 people share a common kitchen, living room, and bathroom. This room's 20 by 30. If you can see that if we have an intern, they don't have a common bed to sleep in. They have to sleep out in the bunk area or in the common area. And this is part of what the normal living area is for extra people that are riding on the engines. Bay utilization. The size and usage of the fire apparatus has changed in the last 50 years. We added hazmat to normal responses. It is not just a specialized company that does hazmat. The extrication tools that became commonplace in the 1980s is part of normal operations, and they require at least 2 to 3 compartments on a fire engine. In the 2000s, we switched over to large diameter hose. It was added at that point to allow us to have more hose capacity on the truck that we can provide water to the trucks without friction loss to the smaller diameters that we were using in the past. In 2004, we added a life support, which required even more compartments. Life supports are the things that we require, that we basically give you an IV, we put narcotics and medication in you, and we try to keep you alive. And then recently in 2018, our city decided that we were going to go clean cab. Clean cab is a process in which we take the particulate holding air packs from the inside of the truck and we put them on the outside of the truck in one of the compartments. What this is doing is prolonging the lives of firefighters, that they're not exposed to particulates that are very difficult to remove from air packs, and we remove them from that location so that they have a better chance of survival once they get done with this career. Bay utilization in Station 22, the bay is 32 feet 6 inches. On the left, you'll see a fire engine, Station 25. That engine is 33 feet long, and because of that, we were able to hold the extra equipment that we rely on for life support and extrication. The engine that is housed in Station 22 is custom designed. It has to be 30 feet, which removes some of the space from the compartment that doesn't allow us to carry everything that we have on all the other engines. And although we do carry ALS and extrication equipment, some of it's stored in the main cab. The new station will allow the fleet to standardize the new engine that will be purchased in the coming years. We're anticipating by 2024 we'll be having to replace engine 22 that's housed at Station 22. That engine, if we build a new fire station, will be the full size of all the other engines that we're getting. It'll have the same compartment space as the remaining fleet. Now, the deck gun, master stream, or turret, depending on which part of the country you're from, is the hose stream that's at the top of the ladder truck, or the engine. If you look at the picture, there's a large amount of water that comes out, and that basically is about 12 to 1,500 gallons per minute, or it can fill up a small pool in 15 minutes. This truck, for it to fit inside the bay, we have to disconnect it, remove it from the top, store it in the dunnage area, and when we get to a call, take the time to take it off and put it back onto the pedestal in which it's supposed to be in. As I said before, the bay is 32 feet 6 inches. When we park the truck in the bay, the front bumper is about 12 to 12 inches or to 18 inches from the front of the garage door. The back of the truck, when we back this 22-ton truck into a bay, has about 6 inches of space in the back. As what happened is, the bay remained the same size while the engines got bigger. The width of the bay is 11 feet 9 inches. The width of engine 22 is 9 feet, which may think you've got considerable room, but you still have to account for the mirrors to get out the door. The height of the engine only allows for 12 inches to get outside of the bay, and the antenna is on the inside of the cab instead of on top of the truck. The deck gun is removed, as I said earlier. The air conditioning unit is 8 feet from the fire engine's exhaust, so when the fire engine fires up, the air conditioner recirculates and filters out the exhaust from the engine. Replacement apparatus is being designed, as I stated earlier, and the smaller design, the fire engine to be built, needs to fit into the building. And with the ever-expanding requirements the fire department is required to have, we're going to make sure we need to have a full-size fire engine to fit into the fire station. We are unable to fit 3 units in the bay, which does not meet the needs of the station for staffing or design. It does hold an engine, and it does hold an ambulance used for rescue. County calls them rescue apparatus. But we don't have a backup fire engine in there or a brush truck that can be used as second due to the other areas in the community. Or if the frontline engine goes down, we don't have a way to respond. The health and safety aspect of station, on the picture on the right is our physical fitness room. It takes one of the bays. We use this because we can't fit another fire engine in there because of the equipment that's stored in the back. Station 21's PT room, you can see, has all the required equipment that we got in the health and safety grant that we received last year. All the equipment that you see on the left side of the screen is stuck into the bay on the right side of the screen. For the cost for replacement, location of Station 22 still needs to be determined. At this time, we could possibly use a 2-story building on the same location. We're in discussions with Daytona State College for possibly using a piece of property on theirs, but we're running into some legality challenges, or we purchase new property to find another location. The design and construction for the building is about $4.5 million, and it will house 15 firefighters. They will have separate living quarters. They will have 3 full-size bays, and it will meet our 10-year initiative goal 6D, health and safety. Develop strategies to reduce exposure to contaminants in apparatus and on personal protective equipment. Funding it through normal sources, we'd have to go through 100% ad valorem. It'd be paid through for citizens who live in the city and would require an increase in millage rate. Not included in the fire impact fee is this is not new service. If we used the building size, we can take some impact fee, but it's minuscule in the amount of what we need to recover. By utilizing the sales tax, 28% of the cost for Station 22 will be from non-residents. If we have a strong economic development program, we will drive the visitors to Flagler County. Use of existing half-cent sales tax will affect the CIP offset to other city projects such as public works, and utilizing a proposed half-cent sales tax for public safety will provide us the funding that we're going to need for the future. As part of the law enforcement part, the city has a contract with Flagler County Sheriff's Office for enhanced law enforcement for the protection of the residents of the city. So, future needs. Fire safety, we need to rebuild Station 22 at a cost of $4.5 million. Fire department's also entered into an agreement working closely with our partners in the county that we're staffing the ladder truck to run operations countywide. The county has agreed to run what's called a heavy rescue. We will be putting that at Station 26 and give them an extra bay and 2 extra sleeping quarters. The Palm Coast Fire Department has agreed to run the ladder truck countywide for any incidents that happen that require our help. And the law enforcement in the Flagler County's Sheriff's Office contract will be utilizing funds to help support the increase in staff that they require. We're requesting support for the half-cent sales tax for the public to be implemented on January 26th. If we can send a letter to the county in support, it would greatly help both the Sheriff's Office and the Fire Department. It'll allow for the capital improvements, additional staffing, and operating costs as discussed, and allocate to offset the cost of general fund in the Fire Department budget. As for the law enforcement, it'll allocate the offset general fund charges for the Sheriff's contract. With us today is representatives from the Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Mark Strober's Chief of Staff, Flagler County Sheriff's Office. I'm here representing Sheriff Rick Staley and the men and women of the Flagler County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Staley is the chairman of the board for the Florida Sheriff's Youth Ranches, and he is out leading that meeting this morning, and it was a prior commitment, so he could not be here. On behalf of the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, we want to convey our support for the implementation of the public safety half-cent sales tax. As you're aware, and at the request of the City Council, in 2019, Sheriff Staley commissioned a manpower study that was conducted by members of the University of North Florida to determine staffing requirements of the Sheriff's Office. The study concluded that as a result, at 2018, the Sheriff's Office had 31 law enforcement deputies short, or a deficit of 31 deputies, and that it would require an additional 47 deputies because of growth that is going to occur in Palm Coast and Flagler County by 2025, for a total need of 78 additional law enforcement deputies. Funding this many deputies through ad valorem revenue would be a burden on our property owners. However, asking the visitors of Flagler County to help pay for the services, this will help reduce the cost to our residents. And as we've learned already, 28% of the sales tax revenue is from our visitors and not our residents. All of Flagler County, the municipalities and unincorporated areas have police and emergency fire rescue needs that would benefit from the additional funding generated by the sales tax. As you know, the 6% Florida sales tax has been flat since 1988. Many counties in Florida choose to implement a half-cent sales tax for the benefit targeting local programs and, in this case, public safety. It is my understanding that 50% of this new revenue will be utilized immediately by the county to fund the Sheriff's Office for 50% and the fire services at 50%, to go ahead and support the needs of the community. The revenue would also be in addition to the Sheriff's Office share of the county ad valorem revenue. This would give us funding to keep the city safe and with all the growth that the City Council is approving. I also want to be clear that our support of this increase is only for funding in public safety. Public safety is defined as law enforcement, fire rescue, and emergency medical services. It is not for infrastructure or other services. Sheriff Staley would not support any increase of the funds for any other services or special projects. The Sheriff's Office has delivered historic lows in crime reduction, but the calls for service keep coming, and have done so under adverse conditions, to include being understaffed. Efficient management of resources can only accomplish so much, and no crime is acceptable in our community. Therefore, every member of the City Council has told the community and Sheriff Staley they support law enforcement. This is an opportunity to prove that very support, and we ask you to support the half-cent sales tax for public safety for the Board of County Commission. And I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Before we go into the public, do you have any?
I do. I was just looking up while we were talking about this. The cities around Palm Coast are at 6.5%. I came from Elizabeth, New Jersey, where the sales tax was 3%, and it brought so much business into the area. Now, adding 0.5%, is that going to affect the businesses? Are people going to stop coming to buy stuff here to go to Daytona or Ormond or St. Augustine? We could be affecting all these small businesses. I mean, people now, they go down to Daytona to get fuel because it's a lot cheaper. So, I mean, it looks like the presentation, I definitely want to help the fire department, definitely want to help the police department. But we got a presentation here that all it gives us is one thing, to raise this 0.5%. No other options. What can we do without raising this 0.5%? Maybe we could raise the impact fees. I don't know. Is there any other option before we come to this vote on, can we do something besides raising this 0.5%? It's just, I don't know. Maybe either we could think about tabling this for more discussion, or I'm gonna.
Well, to your point on the business, the fire department right now is an ISO rating of 2. And if you look at what the rating of 2 is, it means that it gives a better insurance rating for someone who's got an ISO rating of 2 than it does as a person of 4. We are on the precipice of actually becoming a 1. We are in the process of ISO, and by putting the ladder truck in service full-time, there's a likelihood that we will have a ISO rating of 1 in the next year. With that being said, if our rating is a 1, there is nothing more that you want to put on a billboard that says, come to Palm Coast, we have an ISO rating of 1, your insurance is going to be drastically lower than somewhere else. That is one aspect to look at what we're doing for that. And providing the service for the community is a better way of saying that we're meeting the needs, we're not putting the entire burden of replacing a fire station that, if I might say, this can has been kicked down the road for a decade and a half. We need to make a decision on how we're going to fund that fire station because it's not livable anymore.
I'd like to kind of add to that a little bit. You know, past 4 years, we've had a 48% decrease in crime. Crime is a major driver for businesses. It says, come to Flagler County. And I'm not familiar with the impact fee ordinance that you have for the city of Palm Coast. I am familiar across the state of Florida, though, with other impact fees. Impact fees, you can only do initial purchases, new buildings and such. You can't continue reoccurring funding out of impact fees. It has to be either through ad valorem or some other taxing authority.
And I think those are our two options. If we're discussing this as a council, the options that we have of a 0.5-cent sales tax implementation, the other option, if we're all in concurrence that additional funding would be needed, is an ad valorem tax, which would be paid 100% by residents of Palm Coast, or impact fees, which would also be burdened by new residents of Palm Coast to add that additional capacity. Why I like this 0.5-cent sales tax is because 28% of it is paid by out-of-towners, and I refuse to believe that 100% of our fire services and police services are rendered to Palm Coast residents. And this is almost synergistic, where the better job that we do with economic development and tourism and bringing projects and events into the city of Palm Coast. For instance, if we had a Little League World Series game, I imagine there would be tons of out-of-towners coming to stay in Palm Coast, so we would collect that bed tax on all of our local hoteliers, and then the 0.5-cent sales tax that potentially would be implemented here is paid by visitors into our city, and it's almost rewarding the economic development efforts that our city and the county, the TPO and everyone who is trying to energize our county and bring events, but those events also are going to need services rendered to them. And I think this is a great way to offset the burden from 100% of Palm Coast residents to some of the people who are visiting our city who inevitably will end up using these services. Not that they plan on using these services, but something will happen when you bring a bunch of people into an area, and that should be offset by something of this manner.
I do have a follow-up, though. In the Office of Economic and Demographic Research, I pulled some information up yesterday about a summary about how the surtax is used statewide. And as Carl alluded to earlier, that back in 1991 or 92, when this was enacted, when you had to have 50,000 people in your community or less, there was about 27 counties that qualified then to have this ability. So the summary says, and I quote, "Any county having a total population of 50,000 or less on April 1st of 92 may levy a small county surtax at a rate of 0.5% or 1%. County governments may impose the levy by either an extraordinary vote of the governing body if the proceeds are to be expended for operating purposes, which is what the county's request will be, or by voter approval in a countywide referendum if the proceeds are to be used to service a bond indebtedness," which this is not. During the 1920 fiscal year, the 29 counties levying this surtax will realize an estimated $138 million in revenue. The single county not currently levying this surtax at the maximum rate, and it identifies Flagler, will allow an estimated $6.5 million to go unrealized. That's money left on the table, council members.
Yeah, it eviscerates our ability to be competitive with the surrounding counties that implement this half-cent sales tax.
Yes.
And I also want to bring to our attention the projects that we have successfully completed with a half-cent sales tax. Our community center, some of the funding to Holland Park, these are things that really enhance our community.
Mr. Salinas, did you want to add anything on the county behalf?
Good morning, Mayor, council members, staff. A lot of the information I was planning to speak has been said, but basically I wanted to respectfully request your support for the half-cent sales tax. This is, as others have mentioned, is going to be specific for public safety operations. Demand for services continue to increase, and the cost of those services are going to be borne by the residents of Flagler County. As mentioned also previously, 28% of those revenues are going to be generated by visitors. In 2020, about $1.1 billion was generated through sales tax, and $309 million were generated, or that 28%. As Chief Forte mentioned, there's about 30 counties that are that can adhere to the sales tax, and Flagler County is one that only has the half-cent sales tax. The others are, except one, have 1% sales tax. So if you have any questions.
Ed, did you have any?
I have no questions.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I just wanted to weigh in a little bit about some of the legal matters. Councilmember Barbosa, you asked about other options, and you mentioned one which has been discussed briefly about impact fees. And from a legal standpoint only, there are a couple concerns. Don't know the answers yet, but I'm issue spotting. One would be what the gentleman indicated earlier, and that impact fees can only be used for, not operating costs, not for renewing things or building things, replacing things, but for types of construction that are caused by growth paying for growth. And I'm looking at this slide in front of us, and it indicates, and again, I don't know how the money would be spent, but it indicates right here that it appears to be that some of this money with regard to impact fees would not be able to be used because it says operating costs, general funding of the sheriff's contract. So I'm not saying we wouldn't be able to use it, but I want to at least point that out.
You just said growth paying.
Paying for growth, correct.
Isn't that, I mean, This is the
Well, but
problem.
these are operating costs and general funding of the sheriff's contract. Again, I'm not saying that you couldn't use the impact fees for that, but it would be an issue. That's all I'm raising.
It would be good to look at it.
Yeah, and the other thing is that the legislature this year also passed limitations on how much impact fees can be raised. So that would be, again, I don't know how that would impact it
And that's another
dollar-wise.
question, where are we on that legislation? Are we to the full already or not?
I can touch upon it slightly. We recently, I believe 2 years ago, did a fire impact fee study. So with the fire department's long-range plan that they put together on the response times and where the service call need was, new stations were identified and the fire impact fee was implemented based on that plan. Now, so identified some new stations. You know, what we talked about today was replacing Station 22. Those new stations that aren't called out in here would still be paid for by the fire impact fee. When we presented the 10-year capital improvement plan back in February, we identified that the fire impact fee cannot pay for the needs of the new stations to address the service call needs. That the need for the new stations is much sooner than when we'll receive all the impact fees necessary. This specific sales tax is really intended to fund the operating costs of the new station, the new firefighters for the new station, the ongoing costs of operating the enhanced, increased capacity of the fire station. The impact fees will help pay for the new stations and pay for most of the new stations. This tax would help keep them operating and functioning and staffed every day.
And if I can add, the impact fees, from my stance, is basically it has to be paid for new construction that adds to the new capacity. But a good example, I think, of something that wouldn't be able to be funded by the impact fees would be, say we have a new implementation of a service that is mandated at our fire stations for something like cleaning the gear of carbons that can be cancer-causing and things like that. New practices and protocols that will be put in place that are going to require additional services, additional monies to be spent wouldn't be able to be covered by impact fees because it's a new process and it's not new construction that is aiding new capacity. So the operating costs and the additional staff that we're talking about, and Mr. Reichman can correct me, I don't think would fall underneath the use case of an impact fee.
Well, I mean, all the cities around us are at 6.5%. We're going to be at 7.5%. We need to look and see what we're doing wrong. If all the other cities could run at 6.5%, maybe there's something that's being missed.
Well,
I agree with
it is
you,
a
Councilman
whole,
Barboza, 100%.
Look at the big picture, though. It's not just a single slice of the pie of the 6.5%. You have to look at the ad valorem taxes that will also are going to be paid by our residents that go into funding these things.
The way I look at it, if this is going to cost 0.5% more or 1% more here, I'm going to go over there and buy it. It only takes me 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get to Ormond Beach, St. Augustine. We're going to lose business. Looking at it as a business person, it's bad.
I mean, on a $100 purchase, you're looking at what, 50 cents?
We're in a tight
So
community.
if you were going to
I can assure you, though, that if Volusia County was in this situation and they had less than 50,000 people in 1992, they would be leveraging this full 1%.
I'm done.
Any further
Well,
comments?
I'm just waiting for us to get to the point where we make the motion, and then we can have the discussion.
Yes, I personally have to tell the sheriff, Representative Mark, and the sheriff, you guys are bad boys. You're putting us in a position that we don't like. But guess what? Those out there voted for us. We're going to have the fortitude to make a decision. This is discretionary, no doubt about it. But remember, and this was actually almost to the day that we spoke about it, the day of my tragedy, which was 6/16/1920, about response time. And if anybody here could relate with response time, I am. My son was 45 minutes without oxygen to his brain. That's why he passed. It took a while and was still within the time before rescue got there. They still couldn't do it. So we're talking about half cent. Most of the people in Flagler, and let me just talk about Palm Coast, the most where they spend their money, it's on food and medication. which they don't pay taxes on. If we agreed that we must, and we must, we saw the pictures, have to replace firehouses, fire, rescue, police. I doubt that anyone here don't believe that they are our heroes, because they are. We all agree with that. They're the ones who keep us sane and safe. And I'll give you an example. We'll go further down. Fire Station 22. Is that a way to work? Is that a way to live? I think it's about 5 people sleeping in the same bed when they have a chance to. No, I wouldn't want it, to be honest with you. Let's respect those that do the most for us. The ones that risk, excuse the word, their butts for us. The ones that every time they put a uniform on, they got a target on their back. I don't care how much of a safe town you want. Every time you put a uniform on, you're a target. We respect that. There's an old saying, stay alert, stay alive, for a reason. Every time I see a cop, I tell them, stay alert, stay alive, because I can relate to it. I don't think that Station 22 could be renovated. Okay. Just a point of correction. Victor Barbosa, Councilman, you're right about the 3% in Elizabeth, but it's only for the enterprise zone, not for the entire city, and the state just, I think, went from 7 to 7.5, exactly for one of the same reasons. And it's hard for us, and if you don't think it's hard for any one of us over here, even think about coming up with 0.5 cent taxes. It's hard. We must justify to the people that put us here why we need that 0.5 cent. And we're going to have to. Some of us here are candidates for whatever. We have to justify that. It has to be a good cause, a good reason. And if we don't think there's a more noble reason for these people here, for the residents, is tell them, we're not going to do nothing for the police. We don't care how the fire people work. If we tell them that, how much of consideration are we showing them? It's probably one of the hardest decisions that we're going to have to do here. It's raising 1 cent.
I just had a question on something that you said.
So, and then the insurance. If we have our response time down to certain limits, we go from rate 2 to 1. You know how much that would save each person? Probably more than what they're going to be paying in taxes. The only thing I really want to make sure is that someone could tell me, maybe somebody from finance could tell me that this, if approved, this 0.5 cent tax will go strictly for emergency services. That's the only thing. And I'll have to swallow a bullet to go for it. Or even drink some of the stuff we don't want to drink, okay? But the cause, look at the cause. I would like to ask my colleagues to put a hand to their heart and sit here and there at the same time, if we can. Because the only way we're going to make decisions is if we remember when we were sitting back there. You all put us here. We got to do what needs to be done. I am personally in favor of this 0.5 cent tax, but it's not an easy decision. So I revert to my first phrase. You guys are bad boys, but I have to respect you.
So just a question, you'd mentioned the savings in homeowners insurance. So going from a 2 to a 1, what will that save me next year?
We were talking about business, and when you look at commercial, it's easier to predict what the rating is. when you go from a 2 to a 1 or a 4 to a 2. The industry, what it is, it's a big secret what the insurance capacity is going to be for it. We don't know what the savings will be, but it will definitely be a savings to the
All right, so
property
we
owner.
don't know if it's $10 a year or $100 a year.
True.
Correct. I just want to make sure we understand that. I also want to make sure that we understand that the county has asked us to simply support their tax increase. This is a county tax increase. This is not the city of Palm Coast. Why the county is even asking us to get on board and support them, do they not lack the courage to pass this tax increase on their own? They need us to get behind them first? Because I've heard from county commissioners who have said they're not going to vote for this unless we all get behind them. And that kind of seems like this is their responsibility. They shouldn't be hanging their tax increase on us.
But would you also agree that the funds are going to be funneled to us? So for them to want support of the people who they will be distributing these funds to is not an unrealistic expectation, is it?
No, I think this is their job, not our job.
So
we don't
if
go
they
to the
pass it-
county and ask for their support if we pass a tax increase. Do we? Why are they coming to us? I don't understand this. I also have to say, I assume that we're now in the discussion mode of this thing. so-
Council members, procedurally, first of all, we have not gone out to the public yet, so we still need to do that.
All right, so let's wait and save this
But
debate
also,
before we
just for
go on,
purposes
right?
of debate under your council rules and procedures, before you go back and forth, it's appropriate to ask for the floor from the acting mayor. Otherwise, it's very difficult for the record, because
Okay,
we're
well, then I
talking-
think let's do the public thing, and then
Well,
we
it's up
can
to-
get into our debate thing, right?
We don't have a motion yet, but I just wanted to remind the council, we have not gone out to the public
well,
yet.
Great, that's fine.
Before we go to the public, I thought that I'll probably say this. The county is asking us to help them, basically. Sometimes we change our minds about certain things. July 16th, 2019, I had a county commissioner sending me a message saying, stay strong on the sheriff. We don't need to raise taxes. This is the time of cleaning up spending. Everyone needs to do it. Well, he changed his mind.
Okay.
He changed his mind. Now he wants it. So we all could change it. And I'll show you, I'll be glad to show you who that county commissioner is. I'm pretty sure you already think you know who it is. But this is just to show you how sometimes you could change. And I have it here to show anyone who wants to see it. Bring it back to the public for comments on this.
First, I'll make I think procedurally we need a motion first, and I will motion that we approve resolution number 5, approving a letter of support for Flagler County Public Safety half-cent sales tax.
Okay, but like I said, I would write it here from the public first, if you don't mind, sir.
No, it has to be after the motion, right?
It's not normal, I mean, it doesn't really depend. We can take it to the public. Actually, I think it's important, sometimes it's important for the council before a motion is made for the public input to be received.
I agree with you, and I really think that we should hear from the public, and anyone who wants to, except for you, Mike, I'm sorry, anyone who wants to talk to us, inspire us with this, please, it's your time to come to the podium, and you'll have 3 minutes to add to this. Hearing none, I'll bring it back to this dais.
There's a motion pending.
The motion was from,
Vice Mayor Clufus.
not Vice Mayor yet, but.
Well, that's true, okay.
Been called way worse.
Okay, can you repeat your motion?
Absolutely. I would move to approve the letter of support for Flagler County Public Safety half-cent sales tax.
Do I have a second to that? I'll repeat it. Do I have a second to that? We don't have. Will be tabled for lack of second.
The motion would, for procedurally, Mr. Mayor, the motion fails for lack of a second.
Yes. Lack of a second, this motion fails.
May I be recognized to speak, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, absolutely.
By not debating or articulating your points before a motion is seconded. You're foregoing the ability for you to be able to display your aspects and your thoughts and your talking points to the residents, but more importantly, the council, so that we can all be on the same page to try to unify our support or not support for something. But hiding behind the fact that there's not a motion on the table before you were willing to speak and then not seconding the motion, which you can still vote against. Just seconding the motion will just allow you to say what you had said you were going to say, and you did not do that. I just want to make sure that you understand what you're doing.
Can I answer, Councilman Clufus? Number one, I don't need a lecture from you, Nick, okay? Number one. Number two, I have to say, since you want a response from me, it must be a cold day in hell today, because for the first time that I can ever remember, I actually agree with the head of the Democratic Party, Mike Cocciola. I finally agree with you, Mike. And I have to tell you, raising taxes on our citizens, coming out of this COVID virus, coming out of the loss of income that people have suffered, businesses have suffered, is insane. And as I said when I was campaigning, and I say it here again today, it wasn't a campaign slogan, I really mean it. I'd rather drink antifreeze than vote for any tax increase. Let the county figure out what they're going to do. Let them vote or not vote for it. Let them learn how to tighten their belts and stop buying moldy buildings. But I don't want them coming to us for cover to get a tax increase. So I am opposed to this. Thank you.
All right, I'll proceed with, I will proceed with G6. Who's going to have the presentation?
Good morning, Mayor, City Council. At our last workshop, Mark Galvin from Hilltop Securities presented to Council the plan for the advanced refunding of the 2013 series for the utility department. So there's been no changes from that workshop. We do have Ken Arton, our bond counsel, available to answer council questions. We also have Mark Galvin on Zoom.
Any questions? I think we went pretty thoroughly in this on the last slide.
Yes, these are the resolutions for your approval so we can move forward with the refinancing. Yes.
Very good. Anyone on passing it to the public? Any questions here? No. No. Taking it to the public, see if there's any comments or questions or concerns. None, bring it back to this, and I'll entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the proposed refinance of the Series 2013 Utility System Improvement Bonds. And thank you to Helena and Mark for the detailed explanation.
I'll second it.
Okay, having it motion and seconded, let's go for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I guess 4-0. Okay.
Thank you.
Resolution number 7. I think it's you also, Elena, isn't it?
Yes, that is part of the required documents so we can move forward. So yes, just for your consideration and approval.
Before I take it to the public, any other further comments or questions regarding this or concerns? Nope. Anybody on the public that would like to comment here? Nope. Bring it back over here. I'll entertain a motion.
A motion.
Seconded.
Okay, motion seconded. So those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody against? No. So 4-0. We moving on to G8. You have any? I think this is a quasi-judicial matter, isn't it?
This is not. This is just a pre-annexation agreement. This is not a quasi-judicial matter.
Okay. Any comments from my colleagues regarding this? Okay.
It's the map.
Take it to the public before we.
I don't know if staff has a presentation or not.
I think we went through this already, quite lengthy, and if anybody here has it. Okay. I'll give you a chance if anybody has any questions, they will direct them to you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because I recall that we had.
Yes, sir. I just didn't want to miss anybody. If somebody wanted to make a presentation, that's all.
Absolutely.
We have no presentation other than the interlocal agreement is your standard template for any interlocal, pre-annexation agreement. It's a template for other pre-annexation agreements we've done. The difference would be that the applicant would pay for the application fees, and essentially what happens to the land at the end of the productive life of the borough pit, that's something we can talk about later. The city does not want to commit to accepting something that we might not have a use for, and we don't want to put that same burden on the owner that they would be required to donate property that we don't want. So that's the interlocal agreement, Mayor.
Any further on the presentation?
And nothing else on the annexation, nothing has changed.
Very good. Excellent. I think from here we have no comments. Take it to the public. Anyone has a comment on this particular matter? No? Bring it back here, and I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval?
I'll second it.
Move to approval and second it. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So 4-0. Okay, ordinance is second read.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, to annex property to be included within the corporate area and the city limits of the City of Palm Coast, providing for the annexation of approximately 40.7 acres of property described in Exhibit A to this ordinance and lying in the areas proximate to the existing city limits of the City of Palm Coast, Flagler County, Florida. This ordinance provides for annexation in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Section 171044 Florida statutes. It provides for annexation of real property, an amendment of the corporate city limits, providing for rights and privileges resulting from this annexation, and the effect of annexation upon land uses. Further, it provides for effect on ad valorem taxes, for effect on businesses and occupations, severability, conflicts, and provides for an effective date. This is a second read. This is not a legislative. This is not a quasi-judicial matter.
Very good. Any of my colleagues wish to comment on this?
No, sir.
Any further comments? Take it to the public. Anyone has any comments regarding item H9? None. Bring it back to this council. I entertain a motion.
Move approval?
Second it.
Approved in second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 4-0. Second read ordinance again, item H10.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is a quasi-judicial matter. Read the title of this ordinance for second reading. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the official zoning maps as established in Section 2.06 of the City of Palm Coast Unified Land Development Code, amending the official zoning map for 10 acres, more or less, of certain real property described as tax parcel ID number 2211305545000010, generally located 1,800 feet north of Whiteview Parkway on the east side of US 1, being more particularly described in the attached Exhibit A. And we're changing it from light industrial 1 to high-intensity commercial, or COM3. Those change to that zoning district. This ordinance provides for conflicts for severability and provides for an effective date. As this is quasi-judicial matter, if there have been any ex parte communications since the first reading of this, then those should be disclosed at this time. Thank you, Council.
All right, at this time, before I even discuss it here, is that a presentation, please?
No, Mayor, nothing has changed since the first reading. We're ready for action. We're here to take questions.
That's good. Before I take it to the public, any comments or here? Councilman Danko?
None.
None?
Make the motion.
No, not yet. Let me take it to the public first. Anyone in the public who wishes to speak on item H10, please? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Seconded?
Okay, motion seconded. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those against say no. So 4-0. Okay, regarding item I, out of business, appoint one council member to the Oversight Committee. Virginia, would you be so kind and tell us what we need to do here?
Sure. Several weeks ago, we had appointed 2 council members to the Oversight Committee. One was the former Mayor Holland and Councilmember Clufus. So therefore, we need to appoint one more additional council member to the Oversight Committee. And Mr. Clufus is already on the board, so it would be one of you 3, Councilmember Danko, Councilmember Barbosa, or yourself.
Can you explain that? I don't know.
Sure, Jose is here with a better update for you on the Oversight Committee. It relates to the planning and our interlocal agreement entered into countywide.
Thank you. Councilman, the Oversight Committee is an intergovernmental committee. It's really headed by the school district. Members of the Oversight Committee include elected members from the school district, Flagler County, the city of Bunnell, Flagler Beach, and Palm Coast. And what they do is that we have an interlocal agreement among those parties for how we conduct coordination on growth related to planning for schools and measuring what the impacts are of development on school facilities. And so with that, essentially, you oversee that interlocal agreement, and any changes to it is reviewed by that committee so that before being presented to the governing bodies for final action. And there's also a technical staff level group that reviews it and makes recommendations too, that you as part of this, or the elected body as part of that oversight committee will review before, again, being presented to the overall governing body of each municipality in the school district before final action.
Mr. Papa, would you be so kind and let us know how many times do they meet monthly?
Not monthly, I believe it's twice a year for now.
Okay, and they will not be in conflict of interest with our own business here?
No, sir. The business that's conducted there, it's reviewed. If there's any final action that needs to be taken, it will come back to this board, but they meet at a time that's mutually agreeable, or that's to make sure that everyone is available for that meeting. It won't be in conflict with a council meeting, if that's what you're asking.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Are you clear?
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. All right, now that we all clear about it, are we clear, Mr. Becker? Yep. Okay. Do I have, due to the fact that we only need one, do I have a volunteer for this? Okay.
I will, oh, I'm sorry, do we open up to the council?
Okay.
It's other business. I'll move to appoint Victor to the Oversight Committee.
I'll second it.
Motion seconded. I'll call for a vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody
Welcome
against?
aboard.
No. You looked at me like I didn't.
No, I didn't look at you at all. No, you're great.
Okay, all right. Item J, consent agenda. I would like to bring it to the attention of our colleagues here. And does anybody have any comment on the consent agenda? No? I'll take it to the public. Anybody has any concerns or comments regarding consent agenda? None? I'll bring it back here to a vote.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion second. Anybody against it? No? Those in favor say aye.
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 I like the looks. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, public participation. Those who have not spoken at the beginning, they have the chance to speak. So now, please approach the podium, say your name, and your 3 minutes will start.
Janie Holly, Palm Coast. Last evening, there was an informal meeting regarding Slow Way. Councilman Barbosa was gracious enough to attend. The meeting went as I expected. I was in a minority, along with a couple who also live on Slow Drift Turn. That being said, I feel the council needs my personal experiences for the record. During the meeting, I was shouted at, ridiculed, accused of pushing down the stop sign within the attached picture that you have received. That occurred Sunday night sometime, and the street signs were also stolen. At one point, a female who lives in the county, pays no city taxes, does not vote in city elections, came towards me with her hand raised and told me to shut the F word up. I'm not sure technically, but I think that may have been assault. Basically, verbally threatening me. I was told to move by another person. Someone else told me how many loaded weapons he had. This is no longer a matter of safety for the residents. It is now a matter of my own personal safety. I feel threatened to live in my own home. My spouse is dying a little more each day in a nursing home in Daytona. Once he passes and his affairs are settled, there is now a high probability that I will sell my house and move somewhere where I do not have to live in fear. I do not know these people's names. I've never laid eyes on them before yesterday. I'm simply trying to do the correct thing to make the neighborhood safe for the residents of the city. This is a city street. What the city chooses to do is for the residents of the city. The opinion of those expressed in the county are not relevant to this issue. The 2020 annual report shows the population demographics as 21.3% under age 18, 21.8% over the age of 65, and the median age is 44.4 years.
Based on these numbers, Palm Coast is no longer a retirement community. With continued development and more families with children moving here, the safety of residents is paramount. I am one small vote. There are others, but because of incidents such as yesterday, they remain mute. We moved to Florida for my health reasons and chose Palm Coast because it looked like a perfect place to live the rest of our lives. Unfortunately, 8 months after moving here, on our wedding anniversary, while I was fixing dinner, my spouse suffered a debilitating stroke. I took care of him until he needed more personal, specialized care, and I was able to get him into the State VA nursing home in Daytona. I have managed as best I can to take care of things myself because that was the way I was raised. Yes, my fence needs to be cleaned and there's weeds that need to be pulled, but I'm physically unable to do these things. Physical disability isn't always obvious. As I stated, we moved here because Palm Coast looked like such a nice place to live. After the incidents of last night, I guess looks are truly deceiving.
Thank you for your comments, and if anyone wishes to comment on matters not on the agenda, at this time you could.
Steve Carr, Palm Coast. I listen to a lot of things that go on here in the city council, and most of the things that are from residents that come up here are dealing with quality of life. Who determines the quality of life for a residential neighborhood? What is the criteria for that quality of life? I mean, we flounder and we try to decide, you know, this is really not acceptable for us in this residential neighborhood. Well, what is the criteria for quality of life in a residential neighborhood? I think the city needs to put out something that says what we determine is a good quality of life for a residential neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak? Go ahead, ma'am. Either or, ma'am. Just state your name for the record. And
my name is Carol Brassfield.
what is it? What's your last name?
Brassfield. And my husband and I live in Palm Coast, and we've lived here 2.5 years. My husband and I moved here as we retired from our jobs. He was a firefighter, and I was an RN. Now that we're retired, we're living on fixed incomes, and every time I hear about tax increases on our property or tax increases on buying things, it kind of makes me freeze inside thinking, what am I going to have to give up so I pay these taxes? The property tax will take money out of our living expenses. And I agree that we need, better fire stations, more, deputies out there for our safety. But we're having to tighten our belt, and I think the city and the Flagler County need to do the same. Things that aren't needed need to be no longer paid for. They need to put that money to other uses and not keep taking from the people of this city. I just wanted to say that I am not wanting any more increases in taxes. Just tighten your belts, please.
Thank you, Ms. Brassfield.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak at this time? Hearing none. If anyone threatened you or intimidated you by slow way, shame on them. Shame on them. Agree to disagree. See how many times we disagree here? We're not going to go out there and threaten somebody's life. Okay. I advise you, please, get those people's name. Approach those two gentlemen there and tell them what you've been doing. Because that's criminal. Threatening is criminal. Okay, now, ma'am, please do not answer me. Please, please, ma'am. This is not a conversation. But this is just what I would have advised to you. Mr. Steve Carr, all of us here, we get feedback from our constituents, from the people that actually put us here. citizens' concerns, that's what defines quality of life. At least that's what pushes us to work on quality of life. Ms. Brassfield, sorry. I think we spoke plenty about it today. You saw what each one of us stands. And at this point, I have no further comment on that. But I apologize. I wish I could just guarantee this or that. I can't. In a month, we're going to have a new mayor, and if they decide to bring this up again, it would be a completely different story. So that, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it. I think I've said sorry too many times today, but I guess it's part of the job, being able to say sorry.
Wish I had $1 for every time you said sorry.
Yeah, but you want to know something? He would never get that rich, but just rich enough. All right, ending public participation, L, discussion by the city council on matters not on the agenda. I start with the...
I have nothing in addition for this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I don't know if I should talk about it first or try to make a motion for it. It's something that the public has asked numerous times. I don't think it's a big change in our life. So I guess the motion would be to try to make 2 meetings out of the month at nighttime and 1 in the day.
I would second that.
Okay, can we discuss this a little further down?
Well, let me, procedurally, again, as I mentioned to Councilmember, right now your city code provides, and I'm reading from section 236 subsection B, that the city council of the city of Palm Coast, Florida shall meet in regular session on the first and third Tuesday of every month. The first Tuesday monthly meeting shall be at 6 p.m., and the subsequent Tuesday meeting shall be the third Tuesday beginning at 9 a.m. So we have 2, those are the business meetings. So you have 2 business meetings, and then at this point we have 1, I believe, 1 workshop. And that workshop is conducted at 9 in the morning. So if this council wanted to change the business meetings, then it would require an amendment to the code. So it would require an ordinance to be prepared and brought back for the consideration under the normal legal processes for an amendment of section 236B. So this is in the nature of new business. So if this is something that the council wants to discuss, then in other words, we can't take action on it tonight. But this would be something where this council could direct staff in the city attorney's office to prepare the ordinance for consideration. But it would require.
So Councilman Barboza would have to amend his.
Well, it'd be a motion to direct staff in the city attorney's office to prepare an ordinance to come back to amend section 236B.
Just
because I think that's the pending motion.
That's the pending motion. The only thing I would have loved to add to that is that I think it's unfair for the new mayor coming in not to be present on some like that's kind of important. And I think that the new mayor, which should be...
Maybe we could ask Mr. Lowe, he's sitting in the audience.
Please, campaigning here is not allowed.
It's a joke.
But, okay.
Not a good one.
But I have to say it.
But it was a good joke.
No.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Do we have?
I'll second it.
Okay, so there is a motion and a second on the floor, council, to direct city staff to prepare an ordinance to amend section 236. I would like, for purposes, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but what exactly is you want all the meetings to be at night or just the business meetings?
I think the business meetings, a lot of people say that we're like hiding from them. It's not a good time because they're working.
Okay, so it would be the business meetings.
Yes.
That would be the purpose of.
Workshop would be in the morning.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
The point, if you have ordinances that require first and second read, don't you see value in having 1 morning meeting and 1 evening meeting so that, because if you have work at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, or you have work at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, the likelihood of that changing for the second read of an ordinance would be, I assume, unlikely. So don't you see value in having 2 separate opportunities for an ordinance that requires 2 different readings for the populace to be able to attend the meetings? Because if we make them both nightly meetings, then anyone who works nights wouldn't be able to attend. And that's the value I see in having 1 morning business meeting and 1 nightly business meeting. The workshops, I think, are more fluid. But the ordinance is the fact that we have 2 readings on ordinances, one in the morning meeting and the one in the afternoon session that we have each month. there's value there. Do you concur?
And it's not everybody works days, by the way.
The problem is there's so many complaints that we've been getting about this. So, bring it up to the discussion, always good to hear other people's inputs on this.
I think I should bring this to the public opinion.
Sure.
This one.
Yeah.
Anyone in the public would have an opinion regarding this?
Just remember, we're not taking formal action on this. This is just to move it to the next step in the process. That's all this action is today. And there's a motion and a second on the floor.
Yeah, it's not a motion to actually approve this.
No,
It's just
no. Well, we'd have to have an ordinance to amend
Right.
the code.
Got it.
And Branquinho, I wouldn't mind it being after the election. It's fine, just to bring it up.
That's why, we already have a motion, unless
Okay.
you withdraw the motion, we speak
We're
about it.
We're
Unless
not
you-
voting on it right now. It's gonna be
The
brought
only
up
thing
in
we're
the-
voting is to bring this to review.
Okay.
That's the only thing we're doing. And that's why we're discussing this over here. Mr. Law, go ahead.
Alan Lowe. I've heard many complaints, as apparently Victor has, of people feeling shut out from the morning meeting. And to Councilman Clufus's point, yes, there are people that work nights that would be shut out on a second reading. However, I think the majority are daytime workers. And those people, by the score, have complained that they cannot get here to the morning meeting. So I think you should consider changing the ordinance and making the two business meetings evening. As you said, the workshop is fluid. But I think it's extremely important that the majority of the city be able to attend the two meetings. So I would ask that you look at changing the ordinance for that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any further comments? No? Okay, bringing it back over here. We have a motion. I'll entertain a vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against?
Aye.
No. So 2 and 2.
Motion fails for lack of a
Fails.
majority.
Lack of majority. Any further comments on this? Okay. All right. That you already said. There's one thing I would like to say. I had more, but I'm just going to limit it to one. Is that a price on somebody's life? Being it from a gentleman that works in the lowest, the least educated, to a brain surgeon? The answer is no. And this is specifically directed to one person who was here today. When we actually approved the spending of $1 million on a fire ladder truck. Well, that ladder truck last week, in my view, saved one life. Could be your daughter, your daughter, your daughter, anybody's daughter. The job that the rescue, the fire and rescue, and the sheriffs did, no words. Superb. Simply superb. They were phenomenal. And guess what? That truck, the one that so many people were against, in my opinion, just saved a 17-year-old life. If that doesn't mean anything for some of our hearts, then I don't know what we're doing here. That's all I have to say for today. I'll move on to discussion by the attorney on matters on the agenda.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
You skipped over me.
That's what I thought.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did.
I apologize.
That's okay.
I do apologize. I looked and I do apologize.
I just have, first, two things. I think you're doing a great job as mayor, and I want to commend you for it.
Thank you, sir.
Sometimes we're not an easy crowd to deal with, but you're doing a good job.
Thank you, sir.
So, and
Appreciate
it's
it.
good you're back. Glad to have you back. I do want to bring up a subject that Mr. Lowe brought up, the severance pay that Matt Morton received. I just want to make sure in the next contract with whoever our next city manager is, we take a better look at this. This guy was here less than 2 years. He abruptly quit, and let's be honest, under sort of a cloud. We don't need to go there, but you don't just abruptly quit and walk away unless there's an issue. To walk away with $47,000. And again, as Mr. Lowe pointed out, we have a lot of residents that don't make $47,000. You know, in the corporate world, where I grew up, you quit. You're gone. You might have gotten some back vacation pay. You didn't walk away with sick days equaling over $15,000 or $14,000 of sick days. There's something wrong with that package. And I'm not saying that, like, if, you know, you've been here 20 years, 15 years, you have a, that's one thing. But less than 2 years, $47,000. This is what taxpayers look at when they speak to us, and they say wasteful spending. That's wasteful spending. So I hope that in the next contract, whether it's you, Denise, or someone else, we put a little more consideration into, you know, the length of service and stuff. And I know, Denise, you've been here for quite a while, so, but less than 2 years, I think this is just inexcusable, and I hope, it's not our fault, but I hope for the next contract we correct that. That's all I have.
Thank you. That's why we have to be very careful what we do.
We do.
Transparency.
Yes.
Transparency, that's what we do. Thank you. Your concerns are taken. And next one, I'm pretty sure that we're going to get someone that's right by my right side to look at it and bring it to us the proper way so we could make a decision on that. Because the last contract, we kind of signed it. And I mean we, this
Not
state.
me.
No.
I know. You weren't expecting,
but
you weren't expecting what happened.
The thing is that when we want to take credit for certain things, we have to. Like you said the other day, I did away with the naughty list. You didn't do away. We did away with it, and that naughty list.
We all did away with it.
That's good, but
I made the motion.
yes, okay. But when we're going to tell people, I deal with this, we also got to tell people, I voted for 600 apartments in Palm Lakes. And we also have to not just tell people what we want to tell them. We got to tell them everything. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, now I already know that you didn't have anything else to say. Any discussion by the city manager on matters not in the agenda at this time?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a few items. I'll be brief. The first, in your packet, there's a list of emergency and sole source purchases. If there's not any questions on those items, I'll move on to my next item. Regarding safety, our Public Works Department responded immediately to the down sign referenced this morning, the down stop sign at Slowway. So that should be back upright. The last is the next City Council meeting is scheduled for July 6th at 6 p.m. As we prepare for July 4th celebrations, you heard about one of those this morning, the Freedom Fest that's happening locally. I would like to personally thank City Council for your support to the organization and the community. I want to thank our amazing employees for your strength and commitment throughout the challenging time through COVID-19. And thank you to our citizens. I hope we all get an opportunity to be with our friends and family during the holiday. On that note, city offices will be closed on July 2nd and July 5th. Fireworks are on July 3rd here at Central Park. The event starts at 6 p.m. with the fireworks setting off at 9:15. If you have any other questions about the event that may come your way, just visit our city website on the events page. And with that, thank you, Mayor and Council.
I just have one question to you, and something that actually, I got 2 calls actually on that, and I was worried, and I found out who actually put that. I think I'm going to direct that question to Mr. Flanagan. Mr. Flanagan, I read somewhere that we are in jeopardy of running out of water in Palm Coast, and that's a serious concern. Could you please comment on that, and if you be so kind?
Be glad to, Mayor. Good morning, Mayor, Council, citizens of Palm Coast. Steve Flanagan, your city utility director. You will read in many places, many times, that our water resource is very limited, which is a very true statement. We here at Palm Coast try to manage our water resource very well. That is done by a group of management individuals that the utility has, and we also utilize some other resources through consultants and such. Our 5-year capital plan is always being adjusted depending on levels of growth and things that might also impact our raw water source. So as we grow, there is a very limited resource, and that resource will get costlier and costlier to tap into as we go on in years. Most of our resource right now is from what we call the superficial or shallow aquifer, which is down about 60 to 80 feet. As we move on in years to come and growth continues to move on, we'll go down into the Floridan aquifer more and more. Right now, Water Plant 1 and Water Plant 3 are fed by the superficial aquifer. Water Plant 2 in the south end of town is fed by the Floridan aquifer. That water is more expensive to treat. Okay, as we move on in years and we continue to grow, we'll go down there to the Floridan aquifer more for our water resource. So it will get a little more costly, but there is water to be found. It's just how costly is it to treat when it comes down to it. So there's a lot of information out there about the limited resource, but there is resource out there. It's just how expensive is it to treat that resource. And if I can help answer any other questions.
Just, do you see a reversible osmosis being some kind of a solution within our, let's say, 20 years?
Oh, we use, 2 of our 3 plants use reverse osmosis today. But right now, for example, like I said, at Plant 2, that water is taken out of the Floridan aquifer, so it has a higher salt or chloride level. So it's more expensive to get those chlorides out, the minerals and chlorides out of the water to make it drinkable for our citizens. Now, at Plant 3, that facility also is a RO-type system, membrane system. But right now it's utilizing shallow well field water, so it's less expensive to treat it, even though it's set up for the future. So that's one of the things that as council, and thank you all for the support of the utility over the many years, and our initial council that actually purchased the utility, because that was a godsend to our community in my personal, not just professional opinion. But much forethought has gone into like water plant number 3 in the northwest portion of town. It's set up for membrane treatment, but right now it's just treating shallow superficial water that could be sent to the membrane facility. Okay, so as we grow more and more, we're going to need that membrane type treatment. It is also set up, that plant is also set up to go down and treat both shallow well field water as well as deep Floridan well water. So there's a lot that goes into the treatment processes, and we have some extremely sharp treatment operators that have won national awards, and I tip my hat to them because they know a great more deal about treatment than I ever will.
Thank you very much. Any other questions regarding this?
No.
Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
I'm sorry?
I have a question for the city
Yes,
manager.
yes.
Are we still on for the July 27th meeting?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, the special business meeting.
Okay. I'll entertain an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second it.
Very good. Mission adjourned.